Good, yeah. Nice.
Sorry for the late start. A regular meeting of the City Council was held in Council Chamber on Thursday, May 24th, 2018, at 7 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice of this meeting was posted on May 22nd, 2018, at 8:48 a.m. This meeting is being taped and is live on SATV. For councilors absent, we have none. I am Council President Gerard. I am presiding. Councilor Dibble moved to dispense with the reading of the record of the previous meeting. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. I request that everyone rise to recite the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilor Milo.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public testimony. We have 10 people here, so let's try to be as brief as possible. Since we do have a very long agenda tonight. So first we will have Jeff Cohen, but I just want to remind everyone, if anyone hasn't come up to speak before, that you will give your name and address for the record, and you will address all commentary towards me, and this is not a question and answer time, but just to provide testimony. So Jeff.
Jeff Cohen, 12 Hancock Street, Salem. Two things real quick. Last night there was an amazing forum in Beverly, Council President. And our CERC committee, which you're the liaison to, was one of the organizers. It was about the legislation in front of the State House regarding carbon and the omnibus energy bill, which is a remarkably great bill, which covers virtually everything. I want to particularly thank Councilors Fury, Dibble, Dominguez, and Peterson for coming to the meeting, as well as many people from the community. This is obviously really important. We have a chance in the next 2 months to pass basically revolutionary legislation to protect the environment. I want to remind people that we were the first community in Massachusetts to pass a 100% clean energy resolution. Your body did in 2016, and this year you guys passed unanimously the first resolution to encourage the legislature to not only pass the omnibus bill, but the carbon pricing that's in the Senate and the House. So I want to thank you. I also want to just briefly say that I know you guys are considering in the ad hoc committee the clerk hiring and search, and it was suggested that there may be questions that councilors who are not on the ad hoc committee might be able to ask applicants. And I wanted to suggest a couple of questions, just real briefly. Have you ever run a voter registration drive? If so, what was your experience, and what are your plans for them if you are selected? Question number 2, how will you, if selected, increase communication with the marginalized communities in Salem? And I want to thank you very much for the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Doreen Wade.
My name is Doreen Wade, and I'm actually from Framingham, Massachusetts.
And your address for the record, please?
It's 10 Greenview Street, apartment 119.
Thank you.
But I do business here in Salem, so, and I think everybody has a copy. I'm going to read this to stay on track and so that I don't get frayed from anything I say, because I can talk. History has shown problems in Salem, Mass. Between minority communities and the city of Salem, whether it's a voting situation or an economic situation. Now today I stand before you trying to understand why I had to go through humiliation, systematic racial inequalities, and what I feel is a case of financial embezzlement in the preservation of a 277-year-old Black history event having to do with the Black vote during the 1740s until now. 3 years ago, I signed a memorandum of understanding with the City of Salem, designed and approved by the Parks and Recreation Department, and agreed to by Mayor Kim Driscoll. However, without just cause, the MOU was terminated as a way to revert power off control from Salem United, of which I am the president of, to government officials and departments, thus limiting activities as well as Black community involvement. In addition, regulations were changed, and I was asked to perform guidelines and mandated by white organizations. This was verified when I met with other Salem organizations who were not performing the same requirements and regulations I had. Although African Americans and other people of color should not automatically assume the activities of police and city officials taken against Salem United are always motivated by racism. Their commitment to restrain one of the longest running Black history events in our country, instead of working together to honor its existence, seems reasonable in this case. Before Salem United became the event's leadership, the cultural historical aspect, being Negro Election Day of Salem Willow's Black Picnic, was unknown by thousands. We set out to motivate the Massachusetts Black community with our goals to preserve and protect. Working together to honor its existence and accomplishments were executed with positive responses. I expected to encounter skeptics, and I found many doubters of the event's historical existence. The picnic was declining, and I felt its existence was eventually going to lose interest, especially with the young people. I set out to bring the event to the public eye, build community partnerships and relationships, honor historical contributions, grow voter registration and education, while promoting empowerment. It also gave Salem, Mass. An opportunity to sustain its legacy. But with its success, the City of Salem and the mayor began an aggressive campaign to terminate the MOU and restore to government control. Although the time I felt I could put board members in harm's way, so I stood silently, accepting all the burdens of negativity. But I decided I can't stand by and watch my rights being violated without disregard to the future of the event's history. Negro Election Day, or Salem Willow's Black Picnic, has been taken hostage by Salem, Mass. City officials, and this will clearly impact the meaning of the Black vote to the relevance of today, especially with today's political climate, difficult political climate. And one important factor is, while the city, the mayor, and the police wail about raising fees from the cost of this event, Salem United runs exclusively on donations and volunteers. Any monies come directly out of the pocket of members, board members, and myself. No financial benefit. This year's donations have been greatly impaired by the actions placed on Salem United. In conclusion, the Black community needs a way to retain, the Black community and the minority community needs a way to retain our political voices as we did in 1741. And this historical voting event can give us that opportunity. So I stand, or maybe I will kneel before you, and I will let my voice be heard so as to stop the toxic hostage takeover of the longest running Black historical voter event. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Laura Lee Stewart. Did Laura Lee leave?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we don't have Laura Lee Stewart. Next, we have Scott Sternberg.
Thank you very much, Council President. Scott Sternberg, 25 Pickman Road. Thank you for the opportunity. In follow-up to the conversation, discussion just before, I think it's important as we think forward around the ad hoc committee and the work that comes out of that towards the city being responsive to our marginalized communities. I think it's really important to consider that. I had several thoughts about the process as the ad hoc committee and subsequently members of the council get to interview candidates. And I wanted to, like my fellow resident Jeff Cohen shared some questions that I would suggest including in terms of that. One of that is, I think it's really important to hear how someone thinks about their, when they've made an error, whether of omission or error in doing something in their professional career, how to be able to describe that, something they've done in the past 5 years, to be able to talk about what they learned from it, and to be able to share what they are doing now and what they would continue to do in order to mediate that and ensure that they improve their performance and are more effective. One. Two is recognizing their ability to plan and to plan major initiatives and to be able to mobilize and increase engagement, and to hear their specific ideas of what they've done on a major initiative previously. You need to see those skills. We need to choose within that context to make sure we get have the strengths that are necessary for the position and for the performance in the city. Third, reiterating is specifically 3 actions, possibly 1 innovation that they would look into implementing to address marginalized communities and to ensure increased voter access and voter participation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so Laura Lee, we called on you before. Is there any objection to, since she was going to be before Scott, is there any objection by anyone to just have her give her testimony now? Okay, great. Then Laura Lee, why don't you come up? Thank you.
Thank you. Could you pass those around?
And name and address for the record.
I thought it would save a little bit of time, and I'm sorry, I had just spoken in front of Ola.
Name and address for the record.
Laura Lee Stewart, 7 Barnes Road, Salem, Mass. Previously 107 Rainbow Terrace, where I lived for 15 years as a resident of Salem Public Housing Authority. I'm passing around a list of the reasons why I feel I'm qualified to make the statements that I'm going to make tonight. What I said in front of Ola a little while ago is I've been before you many times in the past, not every single one of you, because not new faces. I've been talking to people about the problems in the Salem Housing Authority, and I've reached out to many of you individually in the past, and I'm here again tonight to ask you to do what was needed. And this is when I thought that the vote would come out of Ola with either a favorable motion to vote on the governor's appointment of Kim Driscoll or an unfavorable, or, you know. So anyway, I wanted to ask you to vote tonight to allow our mayor to take her appointed state seat on the SHA board. I wanted to tell you that you will not be rewriting the law. You will be appointing her for 1 term. In that time, I know she would work hard to change the things in the positive for the Salem tenant residents, the residents of Salem Housing. What needs changing? This was something I didn't really get to say when I testified before Ola. The current board members of the Salem Housing Authority are controlled by the executive director, who does not, she controls them, and really when you work for a board, the board of directors should be controlling the executive director, and that's not what we have in Salem. So that needs to be changed. That's why I felt strongly, after much consideration, that Kim Driscoll would be the right person to put on that board, because she's a strong individual and she cares about the residents. It's not just about maintaining the buildings, because the buildings aren't being maintained in the fashion that they should be. There's other money we should be going after, and we're not doing that. We need someone on that board that's going to change the dynamics of that board in favor of the people who live there. I no longer live there, but that makes me feel safe to come out tonight and say the things that I'm saying. Previously, I mentioned seniors getting their water shut off so plumbing could be fixed with no notice. People going from one building to another building to use the toilets, nobody even bringing them a gallon of water to get through the day. If this had happened in Ward 2 or Ward 3, people would be all over the map on this one.
people that have lost their housing due to bad equipment that needs upgrades, and nothing happens. And they give the residents 5 or 6 electric heating units, and that's not safe. I know I've gone before the Board of Commissioners to tell them about these problems, and I've talked to many of you about it. But every time I've gone before the board, the executive director tells them that I am lying, that I'm making this up. And what you get is a he said, she said situation, and it's always easier to disbelieve the resident. And that's the way it's set up over there, and that dynamic needs to change. I wanted to say to you that most comments or letters that you're going to get about this issue are for people that don't live in Salem public housing or not living there for 15 years like I did. When Bill Legault stood up earlier and he said there's a climate of fear, he is so right. I brought a friend here earlier tonight, and I drove her home, which is why I wasn't here when you called my name. And she's terrified. I couldn't get people who live in Salem housing to come here tonight and tell you their stories about why things need to be changed, because they live there and they have to go home there and they're afraid. But I don't live there anymore, and I can speak out, and I want you to know that it's not good and you need to fix it, because there are people there now that need your help. And I am so disappointed it did not get voted out of OLA. Vote it out, vote it up, vote it down, I don't care. Do the right thing for the residents. Salem Housing Authority is broken and it needs to be fixed as fast as possible. The residents of Salem who live in the SHA cannot wait any longer, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Farah Wolfson.
Farah Wolfson, 25 Pickman Road. I want to thank you and to say I feel like we're all suddenly in HR departments with specific questions, and it's funny to hear different questions because I am also standing before you with some questions I'd like to see asked. While that seemed funny to me, there's nothing funny about this. I think when some of the voting discussions took place in this room and in other spaces in the community, some of the talk was around this is Salem, not Selma. And we are a far cry from Selma, but we cannot minimize the importance of access to voting in our community. And in so many ways, it's a much easier problem to fix than it is in other communities. And we also can't minimize the importance of trust in the officials elected to govern voting. A couple of the questions that I would like to see asked are, given the issues related to voting and feelings of disenfranchisement experienced by community members, especially by members of the Latinx community, how do the candidates plan to restore public trust? I think that's extremely important to find out what are specific measures that can be used to restore public trust. Also, the requirements of the law are straightforward. This is from the U.S. Department of Justice. All election information that is available in English must also be available in the minority language so that all citizens will have an effective opportunity to register, to learn the details of the elections, and cast a free and elective ballot. And so again, what are the specific steps that the new city clerk would plan to use to make sure that happens? This is such an active and engaged community. Scott and I were somewhere else right before that, and someone who hadn't signed up to speak really wanted to, because wanted the voices heard of the people with disabilities and how accessible our election process is to people with disabilities, particularly around large print. And so what I would like to add is that I appreciated the fact that there's an open portion of the meeting. As a teacher, I was able to make it at 3:30 the other day. So many active members of the community could not. And so how do we keep this process open throughout? And what measures are being taken to have those voices heard between now and November so that the city clerk and the city council listen to, respond to, and include the many community voices very invested in this very important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Judith Riley.
Judith Riley, 20 West Avenue, Unit 3. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to once again thank you for the work you've done with the ad hoc committee. Commend you for taking more time for this process, as I hoped you would last time I spoke. I think that the residents who spoke before me had excellent questions, so I support the questions that they put forward. I know that from your point of view, the clerk does more than just voting-related things. To me, voting is the foundation of everything else in this country, so it's extremely important to me that you get somebody who can answer the questions that the previous residents put forward. I think you can definitely ask questions that cover management skills, problem solving, that will get you answers for the other parts of the job. One of the most important things that maybe wasn't covered was the tone at the top. And I think, well, it was in terms of voter services. So I would love to see a question about setting a tone of 100% voter registration and 100% voting and 100% access, whether it's disability, language, motivation, getting people out there to vote. But I think it's also important to have compliance with laws and regulations in all aspects. So I would love to see a question that brings those two areas together: compliance, high ethics, and voter services. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Christine Ross.
Christine Ross, 33 Pleasant Street. Thanks for letting us speak tonight. And I would also like to speak about the motion for the ad hoc committee to recommend 3 candidates, have the full council conduct finalist interviews in open session before the vote. And I think the questions that have been offered tonight were all good ones. I hadn't thought about a question. I'm here just to say I hope you will vote for this order, because I don't want to take that for granted. The clerk plays a critical role in the city of Salem to enable citizens to register and vote, and we need someone in this role who will extend voter registration efforts to all citizens and make registration and voting as easy as possible and convenient and accessible to everyone, so that everyone can exercise this very basic right in a democracy. I've spoken before to advocate for a fair and open process to select the next clerk, and this order is a reasonable culmination of the process to give everyone a chance to meet the finalist candidates and understand where they stand and ask questions to find out who's the best candidate. So, I hope you all will vote for that order, and all councilors should be well informed about the finalists before they vote. I hope you'll support the order, and I just think about whether there's enough time to interview the candidates and think about what you heard and understand and think about who you want to vote on, and whether doing all of that on the same night is wise, or whether, you need a little time to think. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mike Becker.
I'm here to speak on the B1 zoning.
You're on here for speaking,
This is your chance.
unless you don't want to speak.
Oh, no, I'll be brief. Mike Becker, 2 School Street Court. Now, you've all heard me talk about the benefits of the B1 zoning as currently constituted and the positive results on Bridge Street, so I'll save you the time of repeating that. I'd like to add that the proposed change means that there is little to any incentive for current owners or developers to improve remaining small buildings on entrance corridors. The proposed change makes adding additional units require a variance, which in this city is a very difficult standard. Unless you're a large developer doing 30, 40, 50 or larger unit developments, those developments in the NRCC zoning consistently get variants that allow for double density. The irony here is that your constituency rails against those large developments the most. I don't think I've hardly heard anyone object to small dilapidated buildings being renovated and a unit or 2 being added along with the corresponding parking in any of the meetings I've been to, and I've been to many and done several projects. I think we should allow Joe homeowner and small building owner to play by the same rules that we're allowing the big guys to. To echo the good councilor's sentiments, housing. I think we can do better than what's been proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we have Fuzzy.
Fawaz Abu Shark, 4 Harrison Road. 3 brief points. One, to get the mayor thing out of Ola, there is an easier way to do it. Have the mayor withdraw her nomination. There is no need for her. She's not the only one who can fix it. There are many more qualified people. If you want to vet things like we're vetting everything else, let's vet this position and see who can do even better. You don't have to leave. I'm done. You already heard it. So that's the way out of all problems about the housing. Have her withdraw her imagination because she doesn't belong there, and I'm afraid she's going to start closing housing like she closed the Bowditch. Now it's really. Now I'm going to go to the other thing. No, it's
Okay, it's just because, just so everyone understands that where Councilor Milo's husband is on the
Yes.
Salem Housing Authority, that she properly recused herself when the previous speaker was giving testimony about the Salem Housing Authority. So, she's trying to do the right thing, and when you said you were done, she was like, okay, then I will sit, and then you kept going. So, are you really done?
because it's 10 seconds and I felt bad for her doing
Right,
the clips. I
okay. So
apologize.
are you really done talking about
I should have warned
that?
you before I said it because I should have known better. So I apologize for that. So did everybody get it beside Councilor Milo?
Okay, so you're done talking about that?
About that, yes.
Okay, great.
Okay. The second thing is what happened in the Finance Committee about the fire chief position. I think that should have simply been voted down and gone, and it was almost going to be done. But again, I don't know if it's really about vetting or what's the story, but I'm pretty sure somebody in the fire department got the mayor mad. Otherwise, it would have been it would have been within. I just don't see it. We're wasting taxpayers' money. You're fleecing our tax dollars. We have 4 qualified people, and you are not going to find anybody better. Oh, he has to leave?
Yeah.
Yeah, but unless you're almost
sorry,
gonna state
Councilor.
No, because the third point it has to do with that as well. I apologize.
Thank you.
By the time I'm done, everybody's going to be leaving.
And again, let the record reflect that Councilor Flynn has recused himself.
Okay. So, back to, okay, we have 4 qualified people for the position. I don't think any vetting is going to bring any more people. I don't know why we're even vetting. Some of them has been in the place for 30 years in the city of Salem. I think it's a wasting of the taxpayers' money. The third thing and the most important point, which still has he has to stay there because the fire and the police is part of this. This body, mainly the mayor's office and the administration, and some people on this body are sending the worst and wrong message to the people of Salem, especially our fire and our police and our city clerk. It's all within the same issue. We are telling them that they could be sitting there for 30 years doing their job right and doing everything in the right thing, and at the end, maybe we can find somebody else, or the person you're going to train is going to be better than you. This is wrong at all levels. As a citizen of the city, I'm very concerned about that. It's costing us money, and it's costing us good people. We have people who start on those departments that can look to advancement and something, and they're going to see in the future that they have no hope of anything unless they please the mayor or few people on the council. And you can deny it all you want, I don't care. This is the fact and we know it. Okay, my facts at least. My conspiracy theory, as somebody would like to put it. We need to give those people a message. If you are part of our police, our EMS, our public workers, our fire department, people who we depend on for our lives and our safety and our everything, we need to give them the message. If you are from the city and you do your job and you do what's right and you're here 20, 25, 30, 35 years, some of them, you are going to be advanced and you are going to have every preference over everybody else. Nobody is going to come to Salem and know it more than the person who's been here 35 years. Maybe they'll have different degree, but those people who've been here all this time are the ones who are going to train him, and they're going to make him take care of our city and do the job. And for at least 6 months to a year, those people who we are telling them they're not good enough are the ones who are going to be doing the job and making the other person better. I think we need to take care of our own. This is just like we do with our veterans. We need to take care of them from the day they enlist or sign until the day they decide to leave with honorable discharge on their own terms. And whatever it is, I am going to support all of them. Police, fire, veterans, all these people. They do a lot for us. Shame on us not giving them all these things. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Flynn. Okay, Councillor Flynn has rejoined us. Okay, that's it for public testimony. Hearings, none. Appointments and reappointments.
Held from the last meeting, the mayor's appointment of Stravula Mateus Orfanos to serve as Assistant Building Inspector with a term to expire on September 14th, 2019.
Councillor Sargent.
I move confirmation by, sorry. I move confirmation by roll call vote.
Councillor Sargent moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion?
I think it's a great appointment. I've met her. I think she's done the job before and she can do the job for us. And I ask my other councilors to support this appointment, please.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Fury.
Madam President, I strongly concur with Councilor Sargent. It's going to be a great team. Yeah, and we need a great team. And that's what it's all about. There's no I in team, it's team. And I think you can calm St. Pierre down. It would be a better Salem to have you on board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I've known Bula for some 26 years or so, and she'll have a positive impact on everybody that she meets that comes to the desk of the building inspector, and I wholeheartedly recommend her appointment tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. On Councillor Sargent's motion for confirmation by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Dibble?
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Fury?
Yes.
Councilor Madore?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Milo?
Yes.
Councilor Peterson?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Torrio?
Yes.
And Councilor Gerard.
Yes. Thank you. On the matter of the mayor's appointment of Vula, Mimitius Ofranos. How's that? I'm very sorry. As the assistant building inspector, we have 11 councillors voting, 11 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries. Councillor Sargent.
I move suspension of the rules to allow Bula Mateus Orfanos to speak if she should so desire.
Seeing no objection, Bula, you may approach.
I want to thank everyone for having me here tonight, and I'm very excited to be back with the city. I worked with the city 18 years ago as a building inspector at 1 Salem Green, and at the time I left, they moved to 120 Washington Street, and now we moved again, and I'm very excited to be back in a new building and a new department. And I've worked with Tom and Sally and a bunch of the people, and I'm very excited. And thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Further appointments and reappointments.
Held from the last meeting, the mayor's appointments of Stephanie Haggard and Ty Hepworth to serve as members of the Beautification Committee with their terms to expire on May 10th, 2021.
Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councillor Peterson moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Yes, thank you. This was exciting for me because it's the first time where I've known both of the people already that I'm getting to talk about. So, but I did also talk to them about these particular appointments. And I think in both cases, Ty and Stephanie bring a really unique perspective to this committee. Ty is somebody who moved here relatively recently, 5 years ago, and has been, so he expressed that he still, while being really invested in the city, still also kind of has that tourism perspective as well. And so he's really excited to kind of bring that fresh set of eyes to this committee. And Stephanie is wanting to get more involved. She actually runs the Salem Volunteers, she founded and runs the Salem Volunteers group on Facebook, maybe other places too, but I know it's very active on Facebook. And she was through that capacity nominated this year as a through the Salem Chamber of Commerce Awards. So she's a great person to put into this committee because she always is organizing neighborhood cleanups and all of that. So in both cases, I strongly recommend appointment.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Madore.
Thank you, Madam President. I haven't had the honor to meet Stephanie in person yet, but I've heard all sorts of great things about her through Salem Volunteers and her recent nomination. So I look forward to learning about her more. And I fully recommend her appointment. And in regards to the nomination of Ty, he's my constituent, and then I had the pleasure of speaking with him recently, and he's very eager to get involved in our community. And if anybody else, he would be the person to know how beautiful Salem is, as we've all been swooned by his photographs through Hello Salem, which he does it in his spare time and raises money for LifeBridge. And he knows all the little nooks and crannies of Salem that most of us don't even know about, and I think he would be a great addition to this committee, and I look forward to all the work that both of them will do.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. On Councilor Peterson's motion for confirmation by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Dibble?
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Fury?
Yes.
Councilor Madore?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Milo?
Yes.
Councilor Peterson?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Torrio?
Yes.
And Councilor Gerard?
Yes. On the matter of the mayor's appointments of Stephanie Haggard and Ty Hapworth to the Beautification Committee, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries. Councilor Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we suspend the rules in case Stephanie or Ty would like to address the council.
Either of you may come up.
I'll keep this brief because Beth's talking really, really fast tonight. You know that if you know me, you know that one of the things that I'm most passionate about is telling Salem's story visually, and it's an honor to be to serve on the Beautification Committee. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this appointment. Thanks.
Further appointments and reappointments.
Be the mayor's appointment of Matthew Smith, 12 Northern Street, to serve as a member of the planning board with a term to expire May 24th, 2023.
Councilor Madore.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move for this to be held under the rules.
Councilor Madore moves that this be held under the rules. Further appointments and reappointments.
The mayor's appointment of John Boris, 5 Bedford Street, to serve as a member of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board with a term to expire May 24th, 2020.
Councilor Flynn.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be referred to OLA, co-posted with the Council of the Whole.
Second.
Councilor Flynn moves that this be sent to, referred to Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, seconded by Councilor Milo. All those in favor?
Sure. Under discussion?
Wait, I'm sorry?
Are we discussing or no?
Oh, under discussion, I guess? Okay, Councilor Milo.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to make it clear that I was the one who made the request of the Ward 4 councilor, and he was kind enough to grant my request that that the motion be made to move this appointment to committee. I'd like to say that I have the utmost respect of the proposed appointee, that this is not about the person, but what I'm looking to do by putting this in committee is have a larger discussion about the makeup of similar type boards that may have similar or competing agendas. And by that, I'm not necessarily talking about conflicts of interest, because we talk about appointees to boards and the question of their conflict of interest, you know, the legality. But I think there's not just that legal question of conflict of interest. I think there's also a question of ethics, and I think we have to look at that in this situation. And I think there really are a number of other situations where we have to vet not just for conflict of interest, but for ethics. And one of the questions I would ask is that, and I don't know if it would go to the city solicitor or what, but you know, going forward when we have these appointments, well, I'm going to I'm going to stop right there because I don't want to have the committee meeting right here, but again, I would just ask that my colleagues join me in allowing us to have this discussion about the makeup of the various boards, and that we can come to some conclusion.
Thank you. Councillor Fury?
Madam President, I'm strongly, Madam President, I'm strongly opposed to singling out one individual who wishes to be part of this board. This particular person is an angel. He and his wife. There are angels among us, and John Boss is a human, living angel among us with his wife. To the homeless, to the needy, across the board. The mat is always open for their house, making all types of things for the homeless and displaced, disenfranchised. He is the epitome of public service. To single out one individual on a discussion is wrong. I'm strongly opposed to sending this to committee. The issue should be above and beyond personality. John Boss is impeccable, capital I, angel, capital A, public service, capital A. To single out his name tonight is an injustice, a human injustice. An injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. And no more better person served Salem over the years. It's John. So I'm fairly disappointed that he would be part of an issue. No better person to be appointed tonight. This should not be sent to subcommittee under his name situation. His name should not be even be considered for this discussion. We should be appointing Mr. Boss up or down. So I'm very disappointed in sending this committee. The discussion should not be on personality or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I have to wholeheartedly agree with the good at-large councilor's comments just now. I've known Mr. Boris for some 32 years, 30 years or so. I've served with him on the recycling committee, on and on. I have the highest respect for him. I know he serves the Housing Authority Board extremely well. I've discussed matters with him, both at my request and at his request, just to talk about issues. And I know he'll serve well on this board here as well. But when a city councilor has not questions, and I don't question Mr. Boris at all, they have questions about the makeup of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board. The point is, when another city councilor has questions about it, no matter what the issue is, I will support that other councilor to put the matter into a committee. We have a fast discussion about it, and then we move on, and then hopefully we come right back and reappoint him. I'm sure Mr. Boris understands these things happen. It's not personal at all. It's just a matter of having a discussion about a certain matter, as we did with the good Ward 5 councilor earlier tonight on another matter. And we had a difference of opinion, but we had a discussion about it. So let's have the discussion, move on, and then appoint this good man to the board when we're done. So I'll support the wish to put it into committee, to have a discussion about the makeup of the board, because it wasn't presented as a character flaw or anything else against the fine gentleman behind me. Thank you.
Councillor Fury? Or Councillor Terrio, and then...
Thank you, Madam President. I will say that I am going to be wholeheartedly in support of this appointment. The work that Mr. Boris has done on behalf of the city, both on the Housing Authority Board and as a citizen, is utterly impeccable. I recognize that a couple of my colleagues have questions about the board and its functions and some of that, and that this is being proposed as a venue to have that larger discussion. I'm not, given that this is an appointment that normally would be held under the rules anyway, I am okay with this as a alternate path to holding held under the rules, because we can have this discussion and hopefully then have it back before us at the next meeting where we normally would be approving it anyway. And that's really my only reason for being willing to support this at this point, to have the discussion. But I'm willing to grant that prerogative of people who want to ask questions. I'm not sure if their questions the right ones to ask, but I'm willing to give it a shot. But I think as far as Mr. Boris himself, he is, if you went through the list of people who live in Salem and said who should serve on an Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board, he would be pretty much at the top of the list in the city, given his passion for the people of the city, his passion for housing, and his public service in general. So this is 100% not about him, at least as far as my view.
Councillor Fury.
Oh, please. Councilor Girard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very concerned about this because the work of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board, which I'm a member of, that we do need someone with John Boris's background, but what really concerns me is throwing around possible ethics violations. I think it's very reckless to say something like that when you haven't actually asked about it yet. And to bring it up in a public meeting, I think it's, as I said, it's very, very reckless, and I don't think that we should hold this up. I think what we should be doing is, if we're hold it under the rules, we have 2 weeks, and then come back in 2 weeks and we either vote it up or down. I don't think that this should be going to a committee at all. If there is a question of overlapping of boards and of responsibilities, that's a completely separate question unto itself. That should have no bearing on Mr. Boris's appointment or possible not reappointment to this board.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councillor Flynn's motion to move this to Ola co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who didn't vote? 6? Are you opposed? Okay, so 6. So this matter does not carry. So this will be held under the rules. Councillor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wonder if you just...
President.
I'm sorry, Madam President. I wonder if you just clarify the vote that just happened.
The vote that just happened, we just took a vote. Did we want...
No, the actual count. If we could just confirm that count.
Okay, sure. So we can, if you want, we'll ask it again. Okay, so those in favor of moving this appointment to Ola co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, raise your hands. We got one. Okay, so Councillor Milo, Councillor Terrell, Councillor Flynn, you changed your vote. Councillor Dominguez, Councillor Dibble, and Councillor Sargent. Those opposed to moving this to Ola, raise your hands. We've got Council President Girard, Councillor Fury, Councillor Peterson, Councillor McCarthy, and Councillor Madore. So now the matter passes. Okay, so now it just switched. Okay, so this will be moved to Ola co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Further appointments and reappointments.
The mayor's appointment of Elizabeth McGovern to serve as a member of the Scholarship and Education Committee with a term to expire May 24th, 2020.
Councillor Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to be held under the rules.
Councillor Terrell moves that this be held under the rules. Further appointments and reappointments.
The mayor's reappointment of Barbara Soroyce, 2 Missouri Street, to serve as a member of the Beautification Committee with a term to expire May 24th, 2021.
Councillor Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councillor Terrell moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion?
I don't really have much to say. She's been doing a wonderful job for the city for a number of years, and I'm glad she wants to continue.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councillor Terrell's motion for confirmation by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councillor Dibble.
Yes.
Councillor Dominguez.
Yes.
Councillor Flynn.
Yes.
Councillor Fury.
Yes.
Councillor Madore.
Yes.
Councillor McCarthy.
Yes.
Councillor Milo.
Yes.
Councillor Peterson.
Yes.
Councillor Sargent.
Yes.
Councillor Torrio.
Yes.
And Councillor Girard.
Yes. Thank you. On the matter of the mayor's reappointment of Barbara Soroy to the Beautification Committee, we have 11 councillors voting, 11 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
Mayor's reappointment of Constance Sorensen to serve as a constable with a term to expire on April 23rd, 2021.
Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that be received and filed.
Councillor McCarthy moves that this be received and filed. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Councillor Madore.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for matters to be taken out of order to page 37?
36.
37?
36 petitions is the first page of petitions.
Yeah.
Or did you want to go,
Wait, why do I have 37?
or should we start at 37? Well, 36 is the first page of petitions.
Okay.
Okay.
We can go there to allow.
Okay, so.
Right. All right.
Councilor Madore moves that we move out of order to page 36. Petitions.
We have a request from residents of Federal Street at the intersection of Andover and Beckford Streets to hold a block party on Sunday, June 10th, 2018, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. with a rain date of June 17th, 2018.
Councilor Madore.
I move for this to be granted.
Councilor Madore moves that this be granted. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion on any further discussion? Seeing none on Councilor Madore's motion that this be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have an invitation from the Veterans Agent to the City Council for this year's Memorial Day weekend events listed below.
Councilor Flynn?
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this is received and filed.
Councilor Flynn moves that this be received and filed. Any discussion? Did you
No
want to
discussion.
mention anything about this, just so people at home know when these events are taking place?
There's several events taking place over the weekend. As you know, we got the parade going on Monday, starting at Commercial Street, going to the cemetery. And there's other things going on also on Sunday. That the list, if you want me to read them all off, as far as at 10:30, there's going to be a wreath laying ceremony at the Veterans Section of St. Mary's Cemetery off North Street.
On what day?
That is Sunday. At 11 o'clock on Sunday, following the wreath laying, there will be a naval cannon salute to those lost at sea in Winter Island. And then at 12 o'clock, there's a memorial mass at St. John's on St. Peter's Street. At 1300, 1 o'clock approximately, collation at the Polish League of American Veterans, the Plav Club, on Daniel Street. All are welcome to attend. 1300, dedication of Ryan Square, the corner of Hawthorne and Derby Streets. And then on Monday, Memorial Day, May 28th, 10:30 is the parade I mentioned earlier. It departs from Commercial Street. There's a free trolley ride for any veterans unable to march. At 11 o'clock, the Memorial Day ceremony at Green Lawn Cemetery with honored guests. And at 12:30 approximately, a collation at the VFW, 95 Derby Street. All are welcome to attend.
Thank you. So, on Councilor Flynn's motion that this be received and filed, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a communication from Patty Kelleher, Preservation Planner, to present house certificates to the 4 new members of council.
Councilor Madore.
Thank you, Madam President.
Receive and
This
file.
to be received and filed?
Councilor Madore moves that this be received and filed. Under discussion.
Yes, I would like to invite our
Suspend the
preservation
rules?
planner,
To suspend the rules to allow
suspend the rules
Patty.
to allow our preservation planner, Patty Kelleher, to address the council.
Seeing no objection. Hi, Patty.
Patty Kelleher, I'm the city's preservation planner, and thank you very much for having me here tonight. I'll be very brief. Jessica Herbert, the chair of the Historical Commission, is also here with me tonight. I just want to just let you all know, remind you that May is National Preservation Month. We had our second annual Preservation Month breakfast earlier this month, and if you remember, some of you may remember we came last year and gave a little presentation to the city council, and as part of that presentation, we gave the city councilors at the time historic house certificates, and I would just like to welcome all of the new city councilors with their certificates. What we said last year was every house has a history, and for the 4 new city councilors, it was 100 years of history of your homes, and it was great to see from 1925 to 1979 the evolution of residential architecture in the city. So thank you very much. Jessica, would you like to go ahead and help?
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And it was wonderful to drive around all of your streets. Beautiful.
Stalking our houses.
I like that.
Part of the job.
Thank you very much. On Councilor Madore's motion that this be received and filed, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a petition from Joan Brennan, owner of Witch Teas, to meet with the city council to discuss the plastic bag ordinance.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this matter be referred to, I'll take it.
Ordinances, licenses.
I got 2 choices here in front of me, and it's, even if I refer it out to the first one, it's going to get referred back to us anyway, so I might as well just...
Co-posting it?
Co-post it, please. Move that the matter be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-post to the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor McCarthy moves that this matter be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-post with the Committee of the Whole. Any discussion?
Nope.
No discussion. Seeing no discussion on Councilor McCarthy's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed, matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a petition from Doreen Wade to meet with the city council to discuss the Salem Willers Black Picnic.
Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President.
She left.
I move that the matter be referred to the Committee on Community and Economic Development.
Councilor Dibble moves that this be referred to the Committee on Community and Economic Development under discussion.
I don't know enough about this issue to even discuss it, so...
Do you want to co-post that as well?
I'm sorry, co-post it. Thank you for that offer.
Okay.
I don't know enough about the matter, and I asked Ms. Wade and our city solicitor for more information, but I'm happy to entertain it in my committee.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further discussion on Councilor Dibble's motion that this be referred to the Committee on Community and Economic Development, co-post with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Now that Ty said I'm talking really fast, now I feel like I really am talking fast, so I apologize. I apologize to everyone at home. Councilor Dibble.
I'm sorry, Madam President. I failed to mention that I've checked with my Community and Economic Development Committee, and they're available on Monday, June 11th at 6:30, so we'll meet on that time.
With a date certain.
Yep, June 11th,
June 11th.
6:30. Thank you.
6:30 p.m. All right. Thank you very much. Further petitions.
We have a petition from Wicked Running Club to hold a road race, Miles Over the Moon, and use the city streets on July 13th, 2018.
Councilor McCarthy.
So, yeah, Madam President, I move that it be granted.
Councilor McCarthy moves that this be granted under discussion.
Briefly, the Wicked Running Club is a fabulous organization. They've done this race for a couple of years, and it's a unique race, and it's actually on, I believe it's on a Friday night. They've run it for a few years now. There don't seem to be any issues with it, so I move that it be granted.
Thank you. And I will note that we do have the race director, Thomas Stretta, here if anybody did have any further questions. But seeing none, and also as someone who has run the race before, I love this race. Councilor Madore.
Thank you, Madam President. I do have a question. Knowing that part of the path from last year along Collins Cove will be under repair by the city to repave, excuse me. So I'm just wondering if you could clarify the alternative path for this year.
And
or
Mr.
if you have a
Mistretta,
backup plan for this year.
Approach and then just your name and address for the record, please. And do I have a suspension of the rules to allow Mr. Mistretta? Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, hello, thank you. My name is Tom Mistretta. I live at 3 Emily Lane in Danvers, and I represent the Wicked Running Club for this race. I believe, Councilor, you're referring to the bicycle path, which needs to be repaired. Yes, we're keeping our eye on that. If it does get repaired before the race, which is July 13th, we will still use it. If not, we will reroute onto the, I think it's Webb Street.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further questions? You're good. Seeing none on Councilor McCarthy's motion that this matter be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries.
Thank you.
Should we keep going through the petition? Do we? We do have a couple more people. Should we just keep going through the petitions? Okay. Further petitions.
We have a petition from the FEPAU Christian Community to hold a parade, Hope for My City, and use the city streets on July 28th, 2018 for informational purposes only.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. As the clerk just stated, as the conversation I had with her and the city solicitor earlier this week, the city council does not grant parades.
Okay.
The parades are under the preview of the police department. The police department has reviewed the application and has granted the parade, so this is just for informational purposes only to let everyone know that this parade will be happening. They've gone through the venue.
Receive and file.
Received and filed.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. On Councilor McCarthy's motion that this be received and filed, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a petition from Salem Park and Recreation to hold a road race, Derby Street Mile, and use the city streets on August 24th, 2018.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that to be granted.
And Councilor Dominguez, are you recusing yourself? Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry about that. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you. I move that it be granted.
Councilor McCarthy moves that this be granted under discussion.
It's a Friday evening. It's the only time that Derby Street gets closed and people get to run the wrong way from the Willows back into the downtown. It's a one-night event. It goes pretty quick. If anyone has witnessed it, it's the first race tends to be a little more competitive, and then the second race is more of a family fun race. It's only a mile. It's a brief inconvenience, and I understand it's an inconvenience for the residents down there. But just to come out for 5 minutes and watch all the families run by with their fathers or their mothers, and the little kids trying to keep up, and the fathers trotting so that the kids can win it at the end. It's a nice event, and it's a Friday night. It gets people to get dropped off down the road and then finish at there, and then they can go wherever they want to downtown, whether it be to Pickering Wharf or anywhere else down that end of the neighborhood. It's a unique race, and it's a fundraiser for the Park and Rec Department. So I move for approval.
Thank you. And having been a participant, it's always when I get my best mile. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Council McCarthy's motion that this be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have petition from the Salem YMCA to hold a road race, the Wicked City 5K, and use of city streets on October 13th, 2018.
Council McCarthy, you better run some of these races since you're presenting all these petitions.
I'll drive them in my truck. Will it be granted?
Council McCarthy moves that this be granted under discussion.
No, I mean, obviously the YMCA does a great job. This is a fundraiser for the YMCA. All the proceeds from this race go back to the Y and to fund all their kids' programs. So I would move for approval.
And seeing any further discussion, seeing none, on Council McCarthy's motion that this be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
A petition from B&S Fitness to hold a road race, Wicked Half Marathon, and use of city streets on September 22nd, 2018.
Council McCarthy, maybe this is your race.
No. Actually, Madam President, this one and the next one, and I'm not singling them out, it's only because I want to check something on these two with regards to their maps. The only issue, with some of these longer races, the only issue I'm having is running through the same neighborhood twice. I feel, sometimes it's convenient for the map, and the map doesn't tell me enough. So I would move to hold these, just so I can review with Captain Stevens on the map, because I find it, it's one thing for, we all experience road races, and I'm not going to sit here and argue the convenience or the inconvenience of them, because I'm not going to argue the merits of them, because I think they're a great social thing, they're a great fitness thing, and a lot of these road races are to raise money for charities. But at the same time, when you look at a road race, and sometimes for the convenience of the road race, they run up the same street twice. It's not because they get to a point where they have to turn around and run back. I get that. But if you're doing loops, and all of a sudden the loop goes through the neighborhood early, and then all of a sudden 45 minutes later, here they all come again. I think that there's some way that I'll talk to Captain Stevens that they can figure out a way to adjust the route accordingly in order so that we can try to limit some of those. I understand that sometimes if you run out to Winter Island and then run back, you have to run back. There's only one way in and one way out. If you run out to at one point one of these road races used to run out to the lighthouse on Derby Wharf. They stopped that because they didn't. The federal government said no, you can't do that. But with regards to some of the streets, it's been one of those things that's ongoing. I hear the rumblings from people that, okay, I understand they run by at 8 o'clock in the morning, but then all of a sudden at 10 o'clock, here they come again. And at that point, then the race is sometimes lengthened out because you got the stragglers. So I think it's a brief conversation I want to have with Captain Stevens. I apologize for not doing it beforehand. I will, if we could just hold these until
the next meeting.
And then I'll get those answers that I'm looking for. And I have no problem proving them. They're both very well run. They both, they're for good causes, and they've been. A lot of people love the Devil's Race because whatever the name of it now.
Devil's Chase.
Devil's Chase / 3.33.
Creepy Clown.
Creepy Clown. Mm-hmm. Because everyone dresses up in costume, but at the same time it's tough when you try to limit them to come down certain streets, and then sometimes it's a matter of traffic flow too. So I just want to have that conversation with the Captain Stevens beforehand. So I'll move for the first one to hold it, and then I'll stand up in a minute and hold again.
Okay. So Councilor McCarthy moves that this be held until the next meeting on June 14th. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have petition from BNS Fitness to hold a road race, Devil's Chase 666 3.33 Creepy Clown, and use the city streets on October 27th, 2018.
Councilor McCarthy.
Move that be held till the next meeting, please.
Councilor McCarthy
Madam
moves that this
President.
be held until the next meeting on June 14th. Since we already did have a discussion about this, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have petition from Boys and Girls Club to hold a road race, Bridge and Back 10K, and use the city streets on August 5th, 2018.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that it be granted.
Councilor McCarthy moves that this be granted. Under discussion.
On discussion, obviously, the Boys and Girls Club is a fabulous organization, and they do this road race in order to raise money for their programs. And this is one I give kudos to former Park and Rec Director Doug Boland, who now works at the Boys and Girls Club. Doug and I, over the years, when he was working for the city, had numerous conversations about road races and how they all the road races tend to run the same routes. And this is one that he took all those conversations and took it and figured out a way to run a road race and still not be as impactful to some of the streets that usually are held a road race. And it's a wonderful event, and they do a great job. So I move for approval.
Thank you. As a former participant, and I will be participating again, this is a great race, so maybe this one I'll see you at. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor McCarthy's motion that this be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have petition from Adam Fitch and Matthew Richard to hold a walk, the Salem Zombie Walk, and use the city streets on October 6th, 2018.
Councilor Madore.
Thank you, Madam President. I am always very amused at the fact that the City Council will have to approve to allow zombies to walk our streets, and I've participated in this walk as a spectator for ever since my son was born. It was one of his first walks, so I'm very happy to. Sorry, I should have moved for this to be granted first.
Councilor Madore moves for this to be granted under continued discussion.
And to continue discussion. I'm too excited about the zombies. I'm very glad to see this walk return to Salem, and it draws a lot of visitors to Salem, especially during the busiest time of year for us. And so I move for this to be granted and recommend everyone to participate because there's no running involved.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. As the only city councilor who has in fact participated as a zombie, I strongly recommend that people do this. The route is a little bit different this year. It starts and finishes at the Common as opposed to starting at Collins Cove and then going through. I reviewed the route. It is a fun event. There's people there who'll help you with makeup or costume or whatever. And it is a lot of fun to wander through the city and growl at people or whatever. It's kind of wish fulfillment as a city councilor for a lot of you probably. But I do recommend doing this. Members of the public or members of the city council, go ahead, be a zombie. They'll forgive you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Madore's motion that this be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Should we continue with petitions and just finish out petitions?
Let's just finish them.
Finish them? Okay. Further petitions.
We have petition from North Shore Pride to hold the parade and use the city streets on June 23rd, 2018, again for informational purposes only.
Councilor Madore.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess I move for this to be received and filed.
Councilor Madore moves for this to be received and filed. Under any discussion on this?
No discussion.
No discussion. And Councilor Madore's motion that this be received and filed. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have the following license applications for public guides and taxi operators.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to be granted.
Councilor McCarthy moves that this be granted. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion on Councilor McCarthy's motion that these be granted. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have the following license applications for sea-worms and tag days.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor McCarthy moves that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. No discussion, I'm assuming. Or under discussion?
No discussion.
Okay. Seeing no discussion on Councilor McCarthy's motion that these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have 3 claims.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that it be referred to Committee on referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Council McCarthy moves that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion on Council McCarthy's motion that these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries.
We're at page 42.
I know. So I guess we're done? No, I wish. I'm sorry.
Shucks.
Oh, look at the killjoy. Killjoy, Councilor Turiel. Where are we going back to? Back to page, okay, so let's go back to the regular meeting minutes, the meeting agenda on page 7, communications from the mayor.
Is the mayor submitting the proposed fiscal year 2019 operating budget in the amount of $162,160,297 and capital improvement plan for 2019 through 2023.
Waive the reading.
Yeah, we are waiving that reading. Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to refer this to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Terrio moves that this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Under discussion?
Yes, briefly, Madam President, there are a number of matters having to do with fiscal year 2019 coming up, water sewer rates, bond orders. A couple of them came in as late files. The whole package came in over the transit once on Tuesday. They all go to the A&F committee. The schedule of those committee meetings has been posted on the website starting late next week and then going through pretty much all the way up until just before our next scheduled city council meeting. We'll be having, I believe, either 6 or 7 administration finance meetings to discuss all these matters. The public is invited to come and generally ask questions and all the same. And the entire document, if it has not been posted yet, will be posted online at the salem.com website under the Finance Director and City Auditor Office. That's the whole document's always posted there. You'll have if you want to read it there, you'll have the same information we have. So, but this is the beginning of the whole lengthy process that will wind up in our budget, hopefully passing at the first June meeting, and then second passage on bond orders and the like at our second June meeting.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Terriel's motion that this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order in accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E.5, City Council to authorize revolving funds for fiscal year 2019 is listed below.
Councilor Terriel.
Also waive the reading. This is first I move for adoption.
Councilor Terriel moves for adoption. Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. This is the revolving funds that all of our various city departments operate with. This is for cases where incoming revenue then goes out to services provided within those various programs and departments. And we have to, by mass law, we have to reauthorize these revolving funds every year. Otherwise, these become general fund money revenues, and it's just a lot more clumsy as a result. So we have, there's a number of matters in this, but for instance, for the harbor master, the boat store, there's a fund, the boat storage that we do on Winter Island, that goes into paying specifically for harbor float and mooring maintenance and all the stuff associated with it. And the golf course is in here and all the other various city departments that do this.
Yeah,
so it's long, but it's something we have to do this time every year.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Terriel's motion for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Fury, I have to recuse myself on this. Councilor Flynn, you also have to recuse yourself on this.
The first one. You can come back in for the second.
Where are we going now?
We're going to the next appropriation, but I have to recuse myself. Yep, no, that's okay. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned it. Councilor Milo?
Thank you, Madam President. I don't want to break up the flow here, but by the same token, we've got a couple folks for the CPA matter. Okay. I hate to see them sit during all of this, so if it's okay with the body, I'd like to move to page 29.
Okay. Instant replay. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, then go out of order to page...
Actually, it's 28 and 29.
28 and 29.
28, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want me?
Okay, so the second item on communications from city officials.
We have a communication from Jane A. Guy, Assistant Community Development Director, for adoption of an order for the fiscal year 19 budget for the Community Preservation Act funds as listed below, in the amount of, $669,000.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I would, on this one, I'm fine with moving for adoption unless somebody wants to have this committee. This is simply taking the money that comes into the CPA coffers and making them available for CPA grants. And then the CPA grant decisions themselves are what we would take into committee with the next item. So this part, I would recommend we move for adoption. The next part, I recommend we move to committee.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Terrio's motion for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials.
We have a communication from Jane A. Guy, Assistant Community Development Director, submitting an order for appropriation with the CPA funds for fiscal year 2019 projects in the amount of $736,047.97.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. On this one, I would move that this be referred to Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Terrio moves for this to be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. Just really briefly, this is the actual expenditure decisions done by the CPA committee. I'll note I read all their decisions. Some of these decisions were a little more contentious than they traditionally have been. So I think it's worth seeing if any of the members of the council have questions about these that they feel like they'd like to ask. So I think putting this committee is the right thing to do.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. Briefly, I have no problem with this going to committee. My only question would be, are any of these time sensitive? Can we ask Ms. Guy, if they're time sensitive? Only because relative to if they've already had conversations with some of these people about getting, obviously you look at the list and there's some, things that really need addressing, and I'm just wondering if if we delay this, if that's gonna hold up some of these things getting in the queue in order to go through the whole process of going out for bid, especially some of these city projects. So I'm just curious as to that. If we could just ask that brief question.
Sure. So you're moving for a suspension of the rules to allow Jane to address the council.
Of course, every project is going to be considered important, and these are for fiscal year FY19, so some of the money cannot be spent until July 1st, so it's actually the way that it was voted, the funding that is from the fund balance or from the FY18 budgeted reserve. Actually, it's just the fund balance, so the only one that you really can't vote on any of. There isn't anything pressure on it because they can't spend it till July anyway. So.
Okay. Thank you.
The answer is no.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Terrio's motion that this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Should we go back, or I'm looking at Tom Daniel and I see him here, and I don't know, is that Dale?
Just keep going.
And I'm assuming that you're here for the zoning.
Just keep going.
Do we want to go to the zoning?
It's next.
That's going to be a while.
Okay.
Just
Do
keep
we
going.
want to go on to page 30, or do we want to go back?
Just keep going.
Okay. Further communications from city officials.
We have a communication from the planning board submitting their recommendation relative to a proposed zoning amendment for section 3.0, table of principal and accessory use regulations, voted to recommend that the city council approve the amendment relative to section 3.0. Full recommendation below.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be received and placed on file.
Councilor McCarthy moves that this be received and placed on file. No, under discussion? Seeing no discussion, on Councilor McCarthy's motion that this be received and placed on file. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials.
Now we have the ordinance to approve. Ordinance amending an ordinance relative to zoning.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would... I'm sorry. Excuse me. It's been a long night already. Thank you, Madam President. I would move for adoption, but under discussion to see where everyone is on this before. If everyone's not comfortable moving forward with adoption, then I would then move towards moving it to committee. So I'll yield the floor to the council.
Okay, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I had a couple of concerns that were related to the dimensional requirements on B1. when we were going into this. I think during the public hearing process, which was extensive, we resolved that, and then we think we came up with a reasonable dimensional requirement. So the remainder of these, that was my only question about B1, and the remainder of these were pretty straightforward in my view. I'm perfectly ready to vote on it myself.
Okay. Any further discussion? Councilor Dibble, and then Councilor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to see this go to a committee, perhaps OLA. I'm not sure how full your agenda is. It was extremely full. But I had asked a question, I had asked the planning board for consideration of some of the larger B1 issues and how that would, this change would affect them, and maybe we could craft something that would be to separate the mom and pop stores from the really, really big B1 areas like the Staples Plaza in Ward 7. That is B1. And you can't compare, what is it, a dozen stores, including one mega store, to a mom and pop store. It might have 2 units or 3 units above it to something that might hold dozens and dozens of units above it. So it's apples and oranges, but I didn't see any opinion here. So I guess through you to our city planner, if we can get some confirmation on that back to us on these larger R1 parcels. I'm sorry, B1, the larger B1 parcels.
Do you want to suspend the rules to allow him?
I would love to suspend the rules, Madam President.
Okay. Okay, Tom. And then Councilor Sargent, we'll take you after.
Oh, thank you.
Madam President, through you, the planning board did not discuss the matter that Councilor Dibble has raised in their deliberations, so there's nothing to report back from the planning board on that piece of it.
Okay, thank you. Councilor, I don't know, Councilor Sargent, and then you look like you're thinking. So, okay, Councilor Sargent, and then potentially Councilor Dibble?
Thank you, Madam President. Most of the mom and pop stores that already have commercial in the B1 with residential above it are grandfathered. Before the Board of Appeals, many, many times, issues where they're going to build something new or change something, and it's not substantially less detrimental, or it's a change of a non-conforming use, so if they're there, they're already allowed, and they can be changed. So even if we vote no on the housing above the B1, all the old stock isn't going to be taken away. It's still there, it's grandfathered, it's non-conforming. Probably every other Board of Appeals meetings has something to do with them, and they're changing them around. So they're plenty safe. If we move forward with this rather than put it in committee, I would just ask that we split the question so A would be separated. We could vote on that separately if we could, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McCarthy.
I mean, I have no problem putting it in committee, but I have a problem with splitting the question, because splitting the question is, if you want to rezone something, then rezone something. If your biggest fear is the fact that the Staples Plaza is going to miraculously overnight get turned into some huge housing development and it's zone B1, it's B1. It's business neighborhood, period, in a sentence. If you think it should be something else, then move to bring in something else because you can't split zoning. You can't have an open discussion about a zone, a B1 zone, of which I've heard the at-large councilor argue many times, zoning is what zoning is, and zoning is there to protect the neighborhoods. So now all of a sudden, we're going to change the question, we're going to change the format, and we're going to say it's okay for the mom and pop stores in Ward 1, but it's not okay for the B1 zone in Riley Plaza, up on that end of the city, because all of a sudden that area has evolved and you don't agree with the fact that it's B1 and it fits into this category. Then move to change the zoning. You can't just say it's okay in certain B1 zones, but it's not okay in this B1 zone. So I don't understand what the issue is, because it's either you want to vote for it tonight, or you want to send it to the committee and have a discussion. But you can't argue the fact that it's okay in other business corridors, but it's not okay in this business corridor for whatever reason. It's just the way that the corridors were set up. So if that's the way, if you don't feel that is now indicative of what sort of development you'd like to see there, then there should be another open and frank discussion relative to what zone you feel is there, because there has been little movement on this body with sometimes with regards to some zoning changes, and now you want a zoning change, but you want us to look at what was presented and what's in front of us, but you want to circumvent the one aspect because you don't feel comfortable with it because it's right there. I don't understand the argument because B1 is B1. All the zones there, council's words, to protect the neighbors. So now it's okay in other neighborhoods because it's grandfathered in, mom and pop, but it's not okay here. I don't understand. I really don't understand the argument.
Thank you. Councilor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. I also don't understand because I didn't, that's not what I asked to do. With all due respect, I'd appreciate that if you're going to make a comment based on what I said, not what you think I said or what you think I might want to do. All I asked was to split the question A from B, C, and D. And all A does is allow housing above B1 throughout the city. I didn't mention any certain part of the city. All I mentioned in that regard was that something that was already there would be allowed to stay there. Okay? So they're asking to change zoning to allow housing above B1. I'm asking to split the question so we can vote on A separately and then vote on B, C, and D as a whole unless somebody else wants to split and have a separate vote on B, C, or D. Because I like to support the other things, but I don't want to support A. So I don't want to vote against something that I like to vote for just to vote against one part of it. So that it's done many times, we split the question. I'm not asking to split parts of the city. I don't know where that came from, but I'm just explaining that what's already there is safe. So all I'm asking to split is A from the rest of the B, C, and D. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. However we just deal with this tonight, my concern with B1 in general is neighborhood business, which is what B1 is designed for, is something that really helps keep our city vital. I live across from a B1 zone. We have a couple of other B1 zones on Lafayette Street, and that's retail that does support the neighborhood. We have B1 all up and down Derby Street. We have B1 all up and down Boston Street. We have B1 on Jefferson Avenue. There's a lot of corridors of B1 here in the city. They're small areas, but these are the places where you have people who live above stores, they live above hair salons, convenience stores, sub shops, and all the like. And the people come down, they patronize those businesses. That's the stuff that keeps the neighborhood going. And the fact that right now it's not an allowed use, we have existing structures where it's grandfathered because it's a non-conforming use that's already there. But if you're building if you're going to build something new, wherever it is in one of these B1 neighborhoods, like whether it's on Derby Street or on Lafayette Street across from me, if you're starting over with one of those, or even on Congress Street, if you're starting over, it's generally desirable to have a few apartments above retail stores of some kind. It's one of the things that helps a neighborhood. And by having the clause the way we have it, we're excluding that sort of neighborhood development. So I think it's something that we do need to remedy. There are a couple of oddities in B1, and I'll acknowledge that, like my colleague from Ward 7 came up with. The Staples Plaza down there is a bit of an oddity. It's a regular strip mall plaza that has a Staples in it, and it has a bunch of other retail businesses and a parking lot, and that's about it. I don't know, I don't think there's any actual danger that anybody's going to come aside and propose to put 500 units on top of that or anything like that. And yes, I'm exaggerating for effect here. I don't think it's going to get redeveloped anytime soon into housing over retail. But that's really a strip mall and that's not neighborhood retail, that might be the kind of parcel that we want to consider rezoning down the road. But as far as B1 itself goes, I think that one lot is the exception that demonstrates that around the city, having the B1 business over, housing over retail is a good thing for the city.
Thank you. Councilor Milo.
Thank you, Madam President. Just for clarification, I'm not sure what motion we're discussing. Is the motion actually to send it to committee?
I think Councilor McCarthy was trying to get a feel for the will of the body, and he will either adopt it or send it to committee, and then Councilor Sargent asked about splitting the question to vote on under section 1A, and then vote on the rest.
So it's clear to me that there's a lot of discussion still to be had about this, so if the motion is to send it to committee, I would certainly support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. Zoning is a permanent tool and should not be taken lightly. We did have a joint meeting with the planning board, so we did have some interaction and communication, but we haven't yet met as a council. So I strongly recommend we take the whole zoning package, put it into committee, co-post it with committee of the whole, and we have an exchange of ideas. The planning department has done a nice job reviewing this and making their recommendation, but again, we haven't discussed it yet. And I have a serious concern of that one property. I agree with the good Ward 5 councilor that there's nothing that I'm aware of that is proposed for that one giant property, but it's a permanent tool. If we change this, then tomorrow, I don't mean literally tomorrow, but in a few weeks from now, that owner could propose something radically different in that neighborhood. So I suggest we just simply put this in committee and have a discussion about it.
Okay, then which committee? Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move this matter be referred to the license orders and legal affairs, co-posted with the committee of the whole.
Okay.
And I just for the record, everyone in here, because a lot of things have been referred to. I'm scheduling meetings fast and furious, and they're coming up. And if people can't attend, I'm swearing in other people to fill voids of people who aren't going to be, because it was alluded to by my colleague to my left that, yeah, my committee has 20 times the amount of stuff in it as the committee he chairs, but no one moves to move the stuff to his committee. They move everything to Ola, which is fine. I understand that, but at the same time, is the members and everybody needs to step up. They're co-posted, because the last thing I want is to have a discussion about this in committee and then come to the council floor and have people who didn't take the time to show up because they were passionate about this issue and then put it back on the full debate, back on the floor again. So I'm scheduling the meetings. I would encourage everyone to attend. If you can't attend, send some questions my way to ask because at a committee meeting, at a council meeting, we do not have the luxury of having the city solicitor here, or we do not have the luxury of having sometimes the city planner here. So that's where the work gets done. So if you're not willing to show up for the meetings where the work is getting done, then don't ask for a whole continuation when we bring it back to the floor again, because we've already had two plus public hearings on this specific matter. The matter got sent to the planning board. They referred back this information. I agree, it's a lot of information. We should take the time to refer it to committee, but then it's coming back. Then it's an action. It shouldn't be up for a multiple, huge debate again. It's like, state why you feel about it, take a vote. Boom. But I'm just giving everyone that we're going to schedule the meetings. They're going to come up. If I can't get a quorum of the committee, I'm going to take other members, because they're co-posted, and appoint them to fill the voids of the committee members that can't, so I can maintain a quorum, so I can have the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? So, Councilor Fury.
Because I strongly concur with Councilor McCarthy. He has a lot on his agenda, and meeting after meeting that we do, the whole message of the last election, I believe, was get things going, get things out of committee. Let's get some action. And I think, really, those committee members have to show up for the committee. I'm going to volunteer myself for not being on some of those members to get them out of committee. Too much is involved. Auditors, license, and legal affairs, other committees. We need to get them out. And if it takes me, who's not even on the committees, I'll be there and I'll take your place. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so just for clarification, so are we not going to split the question? We're just going to send everything? Okay, so we're just going to send everything to committee. So the motion on the floor by Councilor McCarthy is to move this matter to ordinances, licenses, and legal affairs, co-posted with the committee of the whole. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Should we go on to the other ones on page?
Keep going.
Let's just keep going. Okay. Further communications from city officials.
We have a communication from the planning board submitting their recommendation relative to a proposed zoning amendment for section 4.1.1, table of dimensional requirements, and voted to recommend that the City Council approve the amendment relative to this section.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be received and placed on file.
Council McCarthy moves that this be received and placed on file. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials.
We have an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to zoning to 4.1.1.
Council McCarthy.
Move that this matter be referred to the same meeting as we're going to take up the other matter whenever I schedule it. So be referred to all the co-posts of the committee of the whole.
Council McCarthy moves that this matter be referred to ordinances, licenses, and legal affairs, co-posted with the committee of the whole. Under discussion? No discussion? Seeing no further discussion on Council McCarthy's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials.
We have a communication from the Planning Board submitting the recommendation relative to a proposed zoning amendment for Section 10.0 definitions. Voted to recommend that the City Council approve the amendment relative to this section for recommendation below.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that it be received and placed on file.
Council McCarthy moves that this be received and placed on file. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? All those, did I get any hands? All those in favor? Thank you. All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials.
We have an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to zoning, Section 10 definitions.
Council McCarthy.
I personally don't have a problem with the definitions, but since I'm going to stay consistent, I'll remove the whole package back to committee.
Okay. Council McCarthy moves that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. No, I see you're sitting down, so I'm assuming no more discussion. So all those in favor? All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Okay, we're...
Now back to page 14.
Or what about the late files? Should we get the late files done now? Or, okay.
Take them up in order.
Still here for
Okay, so now we're going back to
Page 14.
page 14. Okay, Councilor Fury.
14?
Yep, so now, so I have to recuse myself and Councilor Flynn has to recuse. We
Do both of those at the same time.
Okay, so can I just take a 1-minute recess for a second just to explain this? Okay, so, thank you. Okay, Councilor Fury. Okay, so Councilor Flynn and I are now recusing ourselves.
Councilor Gerard and Councilor Flynn have to recuse themselves on this issue. So, Madam City Clerk, next issue is the order.
Order. We have an appropriation of $52,397.67 from the fund balance reserved for appropriation free cash account to the fire medical account in accordance with the recommendation of Her Honor the Mayor.
Councilor Churiello, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. President. I move for suspension of the rules.
We know what you meant.
Suspension.
On discussion?
Thank you, Mr. President.
No objection.
I also move for adoption.
On discussion?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This is the part of the medical fund. We are self-insured for fire and police for many events there, and this is money that has to be allocated for a couple of firefighters who are out of work, and that's why, because, just for the record, Councilor Flynn is a firefighter, therefore he can't be involved in this discussion, and President Gerard is work as an employee of the North Shore Medical Center, and it involves both bodies, and therefore they must recuse from this. So that's why they're not in here.
Thank you very much.
But it's simple, so how we take care of our guys.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion. All those in favor? All those opposed? Having no opposed? Unanimous. If we may, skip on from page 15 down to the order of appropriation, if we may.
Order. We have an appropriation of $17,640 from the fund balance reserved from appropriation free cash account to the police medical expenses account in accordance with the recommendation of Her Honor the Mayor.
Councilor Churiello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for suspension of the rules.
On discussion?
Thank you, Mr. President. I also move for adoption.
On discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the same situation for the police department. They have a couple of members who are out of service at the moment because of injuries, and this is to help with their because of their care.
Any further discussion by the City Council? Hearing no further discussion by the City Council. All those in favor? All those opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now we are returning to the top of page 15. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation in the amount of $30,000 from the fund balance reserved for appropriation free cash account to the accounts listed below in accordance with recommendation of Your Honor the Mayor. City Council printing and binding, $10,000. City Council advertising, $20,000 for the total of $30,000.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Terrio asks for a suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move for adoption.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. Briefly, this is for our city clerk. We have done, as many have noticed, we've done a lot of things involving advertising and printing over the last quite a few months with public hearings and all the like. It's gone over, and our city clerk has been trying to get this taken care of for a while now, and the administration has allocated the funds to take care of, and so we can pay our bills and take care of the last few things over the rest of this year.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none on Councilor Terrio's motion for adoption. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to rates for use of water.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance under the rules.
Councilor Terrio moves for this to be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance under the rules. Under the discussion?
No discussion. It'll be in committee.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion on Councilor Terrio's motion that this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance under the rules, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
The rules, it doesn't have to be, I think, under the rules, that was from the money matter.
What?
You don't have to do the ordinance under the rules, it was just copied and pasted that way.
Sorry.
So just-
Okay. Still referred.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to know that you don't have to. An ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to sewer use charges.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move this be referred to the Administration and Finance co-posted.
Councilor Terrio moves that this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion on Councilor Terrio's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to the city marshal.
Councilor Terrio.
Actually,
We're going to do Councilor McCarthy.
Wait, okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Okay, so Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption for first passage.
Councilor McCarthy moves for adoption for first passage. Under discussion?
Under discussion, this change in the ordinance is supported by the mayor and the police chief and also by the union. And since the city council does not get into the position of union negotiations relative to personnel matters, those negotiations, the negotiations between the unions and are strictly held between the administration and the unions relative to this type of matter. I mean, this is just procedural on what happens when, if there is a vacancy, a temporary vacancy in the city marshal or the police chief. As is stated in the letter from the mayor, this was agreed to by the mayor, the police chief, and the superior, as according to the letter, the Superior Officers Union, so therefore I would recommend first passage.
On Councilor...
By roll call vote.
By roll call vote. CV. Okay. Councilor Sargent.
Just if you please, there are some other matters with the marshal and some other things going on here, and I wonder if we can just, it looks like the other ones may go to committee, and if we just put this along with it, they'll all go in at the same time and come out at the same time, if that be the will. It does seem pretty straightforward, but I have made a few mistakes voting on things the night they came in rather than putting them in committee, and I'd rather err on the side of caution, especially seeing where some of the other things, other police matters are also going to committee, or appear to be anyways. Thank you.
Okay, which committee?
They'll be
Ola?
Yeah.
Okay. So, any further discussion on the matter? We have the, I guess we have the option to adopt for roll call vote, or we have the option to send it to Ola co-posted. Councilor McCarthy.
Or we have the option to do both.
Oh, adopt
You can
and...
adopt for first passage and refer to committee. And as long, and the only disadvantage is, as we just appropriated the money for advertising, is if you make any substantive changes, to the document between the first passage and the second passage after it's been referred, then it has to be re-advertised twice. But other than that, as stated, I can clearly state what's in the letter, because I will read it. If you'll indulge me, we've already been here long enough, so, well, if it's a few extra minutes. Following the findings of an organizational review of the department undertaken in 2016 and subsequent negotiations with the Salem Police Superiors Office Association, we are recommending a change in this practice to allow the mayor to designate an acting chief in the event of a vacancy from among the captains or an acting captains as a consent with the change recently negotiated with the Superior Office Association, allowing the chief to do the same with respect to her temporary absence. Basically, it's a union negotiation. This body does not have the ability to be in the middle of union negotiations. That is strictly an event or an undertaking of the administration. The city council does not negotiate union contracts. This as much as it is, and it happens to be part of an ordinance to make sure it's written legally on the city's end, but with regards to the actual negotiations, which was agreed to, they didn't agree to it. So if we want to make changes to it, I don't know how we can. All we're doing is we're adopting the changes which they have agreed to. That's the way I look at it. So in my opinion, it's for first passage. You want to make first passage and send it to committee, and you can bring someone in to say, this is what it is, to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, that's fine. But we cannot get in the middle of it. It's already been negotiated out through the union. We can't get in the middle of that. That's not our role. That's an administrative role. That's my opinion. But if you're looking for a way to do it, my recommendation would be adopt for first passage, refer to committee. We'll bring it in the next Thursday before the meeting. We'll just come in and say, hey, listen, did you guys agree? Was this agreed to? Get an affidavit, boom, done. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Councilor Terrell. And then Councilor Sargent, did you want to speak after?
Okay. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I completely agree with my colleague from Ward 1. I think, this is basically a personnel matter that our job here is to support, and because it's an agreement between all parties in question. They've agreed on this policy, and they need to have it written down to make it formal. And, in a case like this, our job is really just to get it done for them, and so that they can put this one to bed. Because they have been working on this for a long time in negotiations. So that said, if I do support this for first passage, if we'd like to have that reviewed in committee as well, that's fine. I will, let my at-large colleague decide if that's the tack he wants to take with it. But I do support passage for first passage.
Thank you, Councilor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. It does seem clear-cut, but there is the ability to pick from the lieutenants and captains, and I was under the understanding that the senior person in a temporary position, or even now in an acting position, that it went to the senior person until a permanent replacement was made, or say if the police chief was sick, it went to the senior person next in line, so it'd be the senior captain. So I didn't think it said that you could pick from amongst the captains and lieutenants. So that's a little bit of a question to be brought up. So that's why I'd consider putting it in committee.
So, okay, Bobby, well then what we'd like to do, Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't think that there's a rush to pass this, and I think our advertising bill is astronomical. We've just appropriated another 20 or 30, I think it's $30,000 for that one line item tonight to carry us through to July 1st. We're spending too much money on advertising. So if there were, and I agree with the good Ward 1 councilor here, who says that this is really straightforward, and I most likely agree with that. But if a change did come out, then it would require us to advertise again. There's no rush. Let's just put it in committee and bring it out and not spend money unnecessarily on it.
Councilor McCarthy.
I withdraw my motion and move that the matter referred to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs co-posted.
Councilor McCarthy moves.
It'll be taken up next to
before the next meeting.
Taken up before the next meeting.
Okay.
At the 6:30 meeting.
Okay. You think
because there is no rush to this, but this is, once again, we can sit here and talk all night, and if you want, we will. That's fine. But once again, it is a union negotiation of which we are not allowed to be part of. Period, in a sentence. And if they have agreed to it, This is us just reinforcing what they've agreed to in the union negotiations, is how they fill a vacancy, whether temporary or whatever, procedurally. That's what they've negotiated out since 2016. So obviously, in negotiation of their latest union contract, this was an issue of which they negotiated into their contract. So we could sit here and debate it all night, but I don't know why we're even taking the time to put it in a committee. We're going to ask someone to come in front of us, to sit here and have a conversation and say, nod their head and say, yes, this is what we agreed to. So, but if that's the will, that's the will. I move.
Councilor Milo.
Thank you, Madam President. Maybe the quickest way is to put this in committee, but in the meantime, maybe request something in writing from the superior officers, and then nobody has to come in. We can just look at the written document and say, oh yes, that confirms it.
I'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none. So on Council McCarthy's motion that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, and to report out before or to have a decision for the next meeting in June, the June 14th meeting. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the Mayor.
We have an order to authorize the submission of the application for federal assistance to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG.
Councilor Dibble.
Wow. Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption.
Councilor Dibble moves for adoption. Under discussion?
No, it's really straightforward.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Dibble's motion for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the Mayor.
We have an order for the following home rule petition.
I'm assuming we're waiving the reading. Great. Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move for roll call vote, but I know someone's going to object or have some reason why they can't. I mean, if you're looking at this, this is about allowing retired Salem police officers to do details, and with, once again, negotiated through the conversations with the various unions. I can't tell you how many times I turn my head when I'm driving through Salem and I see someone wearing a PBD police officers. We're doing a road detail in Salem, and I don't mean to signal PBD out. I'm just saying, I should say, in all due respect, seeing somebody from a different municipality doing road details in our city where they don't know our cities, and you can have all the arguments you want. They don't know the streets. They don't know which way the flow is. They don't know which way they can detour traffic. If the Patrolmen's Union and the Superior Officers Union have agreed to this and believe that this is the best way when they themselves can't fill the details that are presented to them, if this allows them the ability to fill those details with retired personnel who could make a few extra dollars and do a detail, it isn't like they're bumped to the top of the list. It goes through the hierarchy of the list first, and then if it can't get filled, then it goes to them. I agree with it. I think I've talked to a few police officers, some of which are thinking of retiring. When their terms are done, and this would be a good way to stay active, so to speak, in doing some stuff. And they know the streets. They know if they detour traffic down one way, what the results are going to be and how to be. And plus, they know they're familiar with the operations. But all that being said, since we're going to take this other matter up, I'm going to refer this matter to the same meeting, so we can have a brief discussion about why we should adopt this, because I believe it's worthwhile. But make sure that, as was stated earlier, I will make sure that I reach out to the city solicitor and have them reach over and get a formal statement to make sure that everyone's on board with this and they agree with this, that this would be the best thing moving forward, and then we can take a vote on it in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I agree with the Ward 1 councilor. This is a wonderful idea, and it's also long overdue. I know the police department has been asking for this for a couple of decades now, and more recently. So this is a good thing where it might free up, these officers they work a lot of hours. It's a stressful job, and sometimes they might feel obligated to work additional details because they're being asked to work these details. If we have additional people that can fill those voids, We don't have to bring in officers that don't know Salem as well from out of town to here. A couple of general questions that I have, and I'm glad that this will go into a committee, is it just for Salem retired officers, or can the retired Wenham police officers come down to Salem and start directing traffic after they've retired, or other towns? I don't mean to pick on Wenham. And other questions would be like the rate of pay. Is it the same as our regular officers, or is there a savings going back to the city of Salem for hiring a retired officer? Like, I don't want to compare them to crossing guards, but we have a lot of older retired people that are doing crossing guard work that it's a smaller pay. So I'm wondering if there's a cost savings there as well. Just general questions for the committee when it gets to that point. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Council McCarthy's motion that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole to report out at the June 14th meeting. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have the following order. The mayor is hereby authorized to execute a fiber optic network installation agreement by and between Sci-Fi Network Salem LLC and the City of Salem for the installation of a citywide fiber optic network for the provision of internet, voice, data, video, and combinations thereof to residents and businesses.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this matter be referred to the Committee on Ordinance, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Under discussion.
Under discussion, I know that the Ward 5 Council has done a ton of work on this, and I think it's well overdue. And I want to say that the whole idea of having fiber optics, or having a company come in and run all the fiber optics, and then having the ability to have different companies come in here and provide the citizens of the city of Salem with fiber optics is very important. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from when are we going to get XYZ brand of, other form of cable or internet or whatever. I will yield the floor to the Ward 5 because I know that I know he's done a ton of work on there, and I know the group has done a lot to get to this point. So at this point, I'll yield. But if there are any questions other than if he states his case and everyone's in agreement, I have no problem passing it. But then I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. Councilor Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. So I will, even though this is getting into the wheelhouse of my day job, I will keep this as short as mercifully possible. So this is a project that I have been working on since last spring when we first entered discussions with Sci-Fi Networks. We worked out a proposal with them and then took it to an open process to see if any other companies were interested in servicing what Sci-Fi was offering, which is a completely privately funded fiber optic network touching every home in Salem. Comcast sent us a letter telling us how wonderful they were. They didn't bid on it, though. A couple other companies expressed some interest and basically asked us, what do you want to pay us to do it? And we said, well, no, we want you guys to just spend the money. And so we were left with Sci-Fi as the company that's proposing to do this. This is something that they intend to do at no cost to the city of Salem or taxpayers. What they are looking for specifically on the contractual side is, rather than come in here literally every single meeting for a separate street opening permit, they're looking for a master agreement that will allow the city engineer to work with ward councilors, work with DPW to coordinate things. Most of their installations will be minimally invasive. They'll be using sewer pipes. They'll be using a technique called micro-trenching, where they dig trenches that are about 4 inches deep by about 1.5 inches wide. And they move, and the equipment they use moves very quickly. So they'll be in and out of most neighborhoods in a jiffy. The basic premise behind this is Sci-Fi is building the network, and then they will in turn lease capacity on it to internet providers, to phone companies, to TV companies, and everybody in Salem at that point, as they light up each neighborhood, will get a choice of providers. They can stick with Comcast, they can stick with Verizon, they can stick with the dish on the side of their home, or they can sign up with one of these. Generally speaking, when you get a competitive provider, which Salem has tried to do multiple times, into a city, they will almost immediately pick up around 30% of the business. And then by doing this, you're going to give people choice. You're going to give low-cost options for people who have trouble paying Comcast bills. You're going to have higher-end options for home businesses and small businesses that need it. We have neighborhoods in Salem that Comcast still doesn't even serve, like portions of the downtown. So this is something that I think is terrific for the city. It's going to be terrific for consumers, and it's going to be a chance to hold prices down and give everybody the choices they've been looking for. So again, it's been a long project. I've been working with the city IT department, legal department on this, and with engineering to plan all this out, and I'm really excited this is finally happening. What they're looking, if we want to take this into committee, which is fine, it'll be pretty much to go over the terms on that master street opening permit, but this is something that, in particular, I'll thank Vicki Caldwell over in the legal department, has been working on this almost the exclusion of everything else for about the last 2 months. So we've had some consultants from outside help us with it, so we're in a pretty good place, and I really look forward to them breaking ground, and I've asked them to light up South Salem first, but I don't know if I'll be able to pull that one off.
South Salem.
No,
okay.
North South Salem.
Any further discussion? Seeing none.
I'll just say, if you'd like it to go to committee, that's fine. If you'd like to just pass it, I'm fine with that too.
Okay, so I guess, what does the body want to do?
Move it to committee.
Move it to committee? Councilor Sargent.
I mean, just as a flyby again, we've had people come in on different communications projects before and have a couple of questions. We get to go with the open meeting law, let people know about it. It's advertised. Heck, we put tag day applications in committee. Something as big as a contract like this, one run by in committee and then bring it back out again. At least that way nobody can say to us, why didn't I know about that? Why wasn't there a meeting on that? Why couldn't I come and ask some questions? And we've got that all covered just by one committee meeting.
Thank you. Councilor Milo.
Thank you, Madam President. One question I have is in the letter, it says a copy of the agreement is also enclosed, but we didn't get one, and I don't know that the clerk got one. So if we could get a copy of that in the meantime too, that would be great.
Okay. We'll ask the city clerk to send us a copy of the letter.
Helpful during the committee meeting.
Okay, so we are referring this to committee, I think. So on Councillor McCarthy's motion to refer this to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? All those in favor? Who? Thank you. All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
Received after the deadline of Tuesday noon, an order for an appropriation of $10,000 from Receipts Reserve Sale of Lots to the DPS Burial Services account in accordance with recommendation of Her Honor the Mayor.
Councilor Terrio.
Madam President, I move for suspension of the rules to allow the matter to come before council due to late file under Rule 28A.
Councilor Terrio moves the suspension of the rules to allow the matter come before the council due to the late file, which is Rule Section 28A. Seeing no objections, Councilor Terrio.
I also move this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance with no discussion.
Councilor Terrio moves that this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? We're really tired. All those opposed? Matter carries. Further late files, communications from the mayor.
Received after the deadline of Tuesday noon, we have a bond order, for the following bond order in the sum of $10,696,190 for the fiscal year 2019 General Fund Capital Improvement Program in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, for the list of projects below.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move for suspension of the rules to allow the matter to come before council due to late file under Rule Section 28A.
Councilor Terrio moves for suspension of the rules to allow the matter to come before council due to the late file, which is Rule Section 28A. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move for referral to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Terrio moves for a referral to Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Due to the late file, there is no discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further late file communications from the mayor.
Received after the deadline of Tuesday noon, we have a bond order in the amount of $13,300,000 for fiscal year 2019 Water Sewer Capital Improvement Program in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7 and/or 8 for the projects listed below.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules to allow this to come before council due to late file under Rule Section 28A.
Councilor Terrio moves for suspension of the rules to allow the matter to come before council due to the late file, Rule Section 28A. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move for a referral to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Terrell moves that this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-post with the Committee of the Whole. Due to the late file, there is no discussion. So seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Hello? All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
Received after the deadline of Tuesday noon, an order in the sum of $355,330 is hereby appropriated as part of the fiscal year 2019 capital improvement plan to be expended as listed below.
Councilor Terrell.
Also let the record reflect that Councilor Flynn is recused. I move for suspension of the rules to allow the matter to come before council due to the late file under Rules Section 28A.
Councilor Terrell moves for a suspension of the rules to allow the matter to come before council due to the late file, which is Rule Section 28A. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrell.
I also move this be referred to Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Terrell moves that this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, and due to the late file, there is no discussion, so all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
Received after the deadline of Tuesday noon, we have an order in the amount of $73,706 to be appropriated from the fund balance reserve for an appropriation-free cash account to the Bentley Roof Replacement CIP account in accordance with the recommendation of honor of the mayor.
Councilor Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules to allow the matter to come before council due to the late file under Rule Section 28A.
Councilor Terrell moves that this moves for a suspension of the rules to allow the matter to come before council due to the late file, which is Rule Section 28A. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. I further move this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Terrell moves that this be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, and where this is a late file, there's no discussion, so all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Any further motions, orders, and resolutions? Councilor?
Personal privilege.
Oh, okay. Councilor. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're not there yet. I'm so ready.
Just to explain what we just did. These are all matters that normally would have been in the agenda. They arrived a few minutes after the deadline, and so we have to do it through this procedure rather than through the regular procedure out of the agenda.
Thank you very much, Councilor Terrell. So, Mayor's informational page, none. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Terrell. You're up here a while.
Yeah. It's kind of a warm-up for the next meeting.
Yeah.
So, City of Salem City Council, May 24, 2018, ordered that the monthly financial report dated April 30th be referred to Committee on Administration and Finance. I move for adoption.
Councilor Terrell moves for adoption under discussion.
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion on Councilor Terrell's motion that this be adopted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. Just make sure I have the right one here. Okay. City of Salem, year 2018, ordinance to amend ordinance relative to traffic, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking limited time is hereby amended by adding the following. Repeal Ocean Avenue in front of number 83 for a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by City Charter, and I move for adoption for first passage.
Councilor Terrell moves for adoption for first passage under discussion.
No discussion, it's just not needed anymore.
Thank you. On Councilor Terrell's motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, year 2018, ordinance to amend ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking limited time. Plymouth Street in front of number 3 for a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking only tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by City Charter, and I move for adoption for first passage.
Councilor Terrell moves for adoption for first passage under discussion.
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion on Councilor Terrell's motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions.
City of Salem.
Councilor Terrell, sorry.
Thank you, no problem. City of Salem, year 2018, ordinance to amend ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking limited time. Forest Avenue in front of number 20 for a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking only tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by City Charter, and I move for adoption for first passage.
Councilor Terrell moves for adoption for first passage under discussion.
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion on Councilor Terrell's motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an odd one. City of Salem, in the year 2018, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking limited time, Moffett Road in front of number 58 for a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking only, tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter.
Can you move for adoption for first passage?
Before I move, I'd like to make a couple of minor changes to this. Rather than the parking in this one location is very tight, so I'd like to see 18 feet instead of 20 as agreed to with the neighbors that live right there. And also, I'd like to place a condition on this, which I'll explain in discussion. The condition was recommended by another counselor in this room, that the owner remove the ramp supports off the sidewalk within 4 months. Make that a condition of this permit. And I'll explain that under discussion.
Okay. Councilor Dibble moves for adoption for first passage under discussion.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. This is a tricky one. The City of Salem Public Works Department has gone out twice to the house, and I've gone out once as well, talked to the owners over the last year and a half to try to have a couple of support legs for a handicap ramp that was built that they need, and they clearly need it. But the supports were built on top of the existing city sidewalk. The sidewalk is beveled quite a bit. There's a 5-inch reveal on one end and a 4.5 inch on the other end. It doesn't make sense to put this parking space out in front of an area that a wheelchair can't even pass. Many senior citizens in the neighborhood I'm exaggerating, 3 senior citizens in the neighborhood have contacted me about the tripping hazards. It's severe. It's a whole step. It's 5 inches. But the owner of the property has refused to take the posts off the, they haven't totally refused, they just said no. And the posts still sit on top of the concrete sidewalk. I have an agreement with the owner now to simply, she's going to put a lift, an elevator lift into the house for her brother that's in a wheelchair, and then take down the ramp out front, which will remove the post, and then we can fix the sidewalk. So I'd like to see this, rather than, we've been going on for a year and a half on this, and still the posts sit there, rather than us pass this for a 2-year period, put a condition on it that will require the post to come off within 4 months. That's my reason for a condition to be placed on this, which is highly unusual. And I fully support installing these handicap parking spaces everywhere. But in this one place, it's really funky with steps in the way from the handicap spot to the ramp. A wheelchair can't even pass, never mind the senior citizens that are tripping. And so I respectfully ask for this to pass with 18 foot, because the parking in this one area is incredibly tight, and the parking space will be next to a driveway. So in my planning background, they don't need a full 20 foot for a 14 foot vehicle. So thank you, Madam President. I respectfully request that this condition be placed on it, that the owner remove the ramp supports off the sidewalk within 4 months, and that the parking space be 18 foot as requested. And I move for first passage.
Councilor Dibble moves for adoption for first passage.
I'll second it.
With the conditions.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilor Terrio. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you. I guess my only question is at what point did anyone reach out to the building department? It's a structure that's on the city streets. So DPS has limited control. I would think that if the building department had been notified, this could have potentially been resolved a lot earlier. And I can't remember once this body putting we're talking about a handicap spot, and we're putting a condition on the removal of a structure on a city sidewalk, which is clearly a violation of the building code. So, in my opinion, I don't understand why Mr. St. Pierre and his department wasn't involved in this earlier. I'm glad that the Ward 7 council has taken the time out of his day to go have discussions with this woman relative to an issue that is clearly a building issue as opposed to any other issue. And if it's creating a trip hazard, then obviously the DPS wants to get in and fix it. So I'm at a loss of how we can put conditions on a handicap spot, which this resident seems to really need, but at the same time, I'm just at a loss. I want to support the Ward 7 council, but legally, I don't know, how can we put a condition on a handicap spot with the idea of removal of something that probably shouldn't even be there to begin with? So, we want to talk about advertising issues and how to repost stuff. If we go down this road and it's posted the first time, and then it's found that we don't have the authority to do that, because I don't think anyone's asked the city's solicitor if this is legal. The whole idea of a parking space, I'm in support of that.
But the idea that some sort of structure is on a city sidewalk that shouldn't be there, that sounds like it's a building issue as opposed to anything else. But I want to support the Ward 7 Council because he seems to have done a lot of work on this and background with it. But the whole idea of putting contingencies on a handicap spot, someone's going to have to explain that to me, how that legally works.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Milo?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm just going to go in a little different direction, and it's only because of a meeting that I went to the other night. The reduction in the distance, is that still ADA compliant? I don't know how that works. That would be my only question.
Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. As the former handicap coordinator for the city of Salem, I think that if it were in a parking lot, it's one thing. On the curb, it's a totally different animal. Okay. The vehicle in question is only 14 foot long. There's incredible tight parking in this small 5-house neighborhood. It's not one block. It's a very long street. I happen to live on that street. And I know that when you drive by, the parking is, everybody jockeys for a position right at these 5 houses. So to make something 20 feet when she only needs 14 feet doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's why I asked for the Parking and Traffic Board to do the 18 feet. And I think it's simply an oversight that it came back this way. So I think it is in compliance and it makes sense for the neighborhood. And by the way, to address the Ward 1 councilor's concerns, I do have it for the word from the homeowner that she will remove these posts that are on the sidewalk. She can't remove them now. She can't afford to remove them now. She's going to be putting the elevator lift on the side of the house, and then she will not need the ramps in front. And I'm actually going to go down and give her a hand to take the ramp down when that time comes and the elevator's in. And I'm happy to welcome them to the neighborhood. But it's been a year now, just over a year and a half of promises that haven't been kept. But I think we're on firm ground. So I ask that we just approve this tonight as requested, and we go forward. And God love the family out there who, unfortunately, they're in a wheelchair and they need to keep access to the house. That's the only reason why I've been hesitant. The design doesn't allow for these posts to come off the sidewalk because the handicap ramp won't work. It's an odd design. I don't know how they got a permit to construct it this way, or if it was inspected, but I think beyond all that, it's built. They're going to be taking it down soon. Let's approve it and let them build their elevator. Thank you.
Councilor Fury.
Please. Councilor Giroux, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very uncomfortable with this as it's been amended because this is someone who desperately needs a handicap spot where this person and his family really need this spot, and I don't feel right putting any sort of restrictions on something that will have a monetary impact when disabilities right away, you have a monetary impact that is a financial impact that is challenging for families, and I don't feel right saying, well, if you don't do this within 4 months, then we're going to take away this handicap spot. I think that I can't imagine that would ever fly. So I want them to have this handicap spot. I've met them and I want them to have the handicap spot. I don't want the restrictions though. So I would like to, if there's any way to approve it for first passage and then over the, I don't know, do something. I'm very uncomfortable with this. This isn't right to add any sort of restrictions when this is already in a compromised situation as is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I mean, obviously, the Ward 7 Council, it's his ward, and he's done a ton of work. I'm going to support him tonight, but at the same time, I would ask him between now and the next meeting, if he could just have a brief conversation with the city solicitor to make sure this is on legal in order to do this, because that would be my only question. I mean, and the other thing too is I would also ask the question of the 18 feet, which was raised by Councilor Milo. No offense, their car may be 14 feet, but that because it's a handicap spot, if the neighbor 2 doors down has someone visiting that has a handicap spot and they happen to own a big Lincoln Town car, that Lincoln Town car is going to maybe potentially squeeze into that spot. I'm just saying, handicap spots are not designated specifically for the person who lives in that home. They're designated for handicap use by anyone who may be living on the street or visiting the street.
So I understand the argument. I had to deal with one of these myself. It's a difficult situation to say that it's because they have a car that will fit in that spot, whether or not it has to fit the guidelines, which would be another conversation with Lieutenant Przewski or the Traffic Commission. But I would ask that, I have no problem passing it tonight to get this ball rolling, because I believe they do need the spot, but I would ask the Ward 7 Council to ask those brief legal questions to make sure that we're on firm ground, because I don't want to do anything to upset all the work he's done, but at the same time, I want to just make sure that what we're proposing is legal, that's all.
Thank you. Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm happy, that's a good compromise by the Ward 1 Councilor. I'm happy to do that work and report back to you all at the next meeting.
Okay, so any further discussion? Seeing none. On Councilor Dibble's motion for adoption for first passage as amended. All those in favor? All those opposed? Opposed. Matter carried. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Madore.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem in the year 2018, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 75, Parking Prohibitions, Towing Zone, Resident Sticker Parking. Repeal the following. Federal Street, Zone C, color green, southerly side, beginning 305 feet from the intersection of Washington Street and Federal Street in a westerly direction for a distance of 60 feet, resident sticker parking, tow zone, adopted May 31st, 1994, and replaced it with the following. Section 2, Federal Street, Zone C, color green, southerly side, beginning 305 feet from the intersection of Washington Street and Federal Street in a westerly direction to the intersection of North Street, resident sticker parking only, tow zone. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by City Charter, and I move for first adoption by first passage.
Councilor Madore moves for adoption for first passage. Under discussion.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So this section of Federal Street begins nearly at the property line of the newer residential development by Salem Renewal, and the property itself currently is occupied by nine families, 9 units, and the residents and the street, that section of the street is all signed resident parking only. And so the residents naturally came to the city clerk's office, I believe, or came to the city before the city to ask for resident parking. I think they went to the Traffic Parking Commission as well, to request resident sticker parking, only to find out that that section, even though signed resident only, is not in fact resident only parking. It ends abruptly just before the property. So the traffic and parking staff did a little more research into it and found that there are several conflicting ordinances on that particular section. Specifically, that section had a 4-hour parking ordinance passed. I forget the year. I was trying to look up the year. Maybe 1994. But basically, there was an ordinance passed years ago that was never implemented with regards to the 4-hour parking, and it's unclear where the miscommunication happened, but that section ended up being signed resident parking only. And I am making an assumption that the 4-hour parking was to facilitate the businesses that used to be in those buildings, the law offices, and I'm not sure what other businesses were there. But currently, the residents are unduly burdened by the lack of parking, and having it signed for several years by now, I think we should correct that discrepancy and allow it to be resident parking all the way until North Street. So to make that southerly side of Federal Street, part of it is parking meter, and then the rest of it is resident parking as signed. So. And I have no problem if my colleagues would like to revisit the conflicting ordinance, and we can move this to the committee just to understand whether we should repeal the older ordinance and then adopt this new ordinance to allow for resident parking. But I don't think we should hold this up any longer. There's been 2 residents that have been very upset, thinking that it's resident parking, only to find out that it's not. So, yeah, thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Mador's motion that we adopt for first passage, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Fury.
Please. Councilor Gerard, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Salem and City Council ordered May 24th, 2018, that the ad hoc search committee to fill the vacancy of the city clerk committee shall recommend at least 3 candidates for the position of city clerk to the City Council Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs no later than June 14th, 2018, extending the date of such recommendation as ordered on April 26, 2018, which was order number 267. Be it further ordered that upon the committee's filing of the recommendation of the 3 candidates for the position of city clerk to the OLA committee, OLA shall report the recommendations to the city council, who shall then schedule a meeting of the city council to conduct finalist interviews in open session. The special meeting, to be scheduled no later than June 28, 2018, shall enable the 6 councilors who are not members of the committee to each ask 1 question of the candidates. The City Council shall, at its special meeting to interview finalists or at a regularly scheduled City Council meeting, vote to elect a city clerk. And I move for adoption.
Move for adoption?
Yes.
Sure. Any discussion?
Yes. Just to let everyone know that the interviews are going along. We are going to be finishing up the interviews, I believe, next week, and then we are going to make a recommendation to OLA so that OLA can report out to the City Council. We're working with working with the City Solicitor and talking with the Attorney General's office and the Secretary of State about what information we can release to the rest of the council, because ideally for the 6 of you who are not on this, I would like you to have as much information as possible about the 3 candidates so that you can make the best informed decision possible. So because the initial deadline was supposed to be tonight, that we were going to have a recommendation, we as a committee felt that it would be better to extend it to no later than the June 28th meeting, which will allow us enough time to finish up our interviews as well as get references from and contact the references of the 3 candidates. So.
Any further discussion by members of the City Council? Councilor Toriello, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll just say, serving on that committee, that the other councilors who I will name, our council president who is chairing the committee, yourself, Mr. President, Councilor Fury, Councilor Dominguez, and Councilor McCarthy, have all been working very hard on this. We've had a number of meetings. We've spent, I counted it, about 8 hours so far on this, between meetings and interviews and all the like. So, along with Lisa Camerata, our HR director, and Chuck Barton from the Registrars of Voters, there's been a lot of work done. We've been asking a lot of questions. We've had a number of very good candidates. We had 21 applicants for this position. We sent out interview requests to 6 who are in the process of receiving interviews. There have been a lot of very good people interested in this. The committee has worked really hard to do this the right way, and I want to just recognize the work that everybody has put in, including yourself and the council president, on this. I think at a process that started in kind of a lot of chaos because we didn't really have a roadmap and the last time that this had happened, of course, was with the unfortunate death of the previous occupant of the seat when Cheryl retiring really kind of threw a wrinkle into things. And I think we've come up with a good professional job of this. We've done, we're doing our diligence, and I think that's very good.
Councilor Maduro, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have one clarification question. I'd like to understand why the committee recommended the members of the six councilors who are not on this committee to ask just one question rather than more than one question. What's the reason behind just the one question?
Councilor.
Thank you, Mr.
Gerard,
President.
please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So basically, the reasoning behind this was ideally we'll be able to share with you the questions that we have previously asked, and so that it doesn't turn into another whole set of like a full interview again, because we're spending a number of over an hour with each candidate asking them many questions, and so that it'll give you guys an opportunity just to at least ask one other question, and so that we can have which we have not determined the three candidates yet, but whoever the three candidates will be, we'll have each of them come in separately, and then you can ask your different questions. And then, the way, frankly, the way that we've, I'm trying to think of how to, actually, I don't think that I can go any further without discussing.
In fact, I think each member of the committee, the ad hoc committee, had 5 questions to ask. Altogether, 25 questions that we asked the candidates in the interviews. And a number of the questions were very similar to some of the questions that were asked by members of the public tonight in the last couple of meetings, almost exact. Management styles and so on. I almost verbatim was taking notes tonight, and there were the same questions that we had asked in the 25 questions. Almost verbatim, sincerely, the cross-section. So we hope to give as much time as possible to you who haven't seen the candidates. We have seen the candidates, the 5 of us, so we're giving you a chance. But by having you do one question, I think it will streamline, make it more professional, and maybe an opportunity for the public to get involved, too. We don't want this to go to 11 o'clock. Councilor Pelletier? Peterson, I apologize. My fault, faux pas.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Getting old.
I want to, through you to the committee, I guess, I want to ask that we can get that list of questions that exist as soon as possible, just so that we can start thinking about our one question too.
We should ask council to make sure.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we just have to, as I mentioned, the city solicitor, we're checking with the Attorney General's office, and we're checking with the Secretary of State that we can release those once we are finished, making sure what exactly can get released to the public once we have the 3 candidates. So that's what I would really, I would love for you guys to have.
Councilor.
And yes, thank you, Mr. President. And just to clarify my question, I don't think we need to see the answers, just the questions themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor McCarthy?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just caution everyone to take, without saying too much, because with revealing what there's still one candidate left that hasn't taken an interview. And so with trying to reveal that the nature of some of the questions that were discussed earlier, is with all due respect to the public, they can suggest questions, but as soon as they suggest questions, they're already out there, so then the people already know what the question is. And sometimes the best part of an interview, as was stated by Councilor Turiel, is the asking the question, so that if they don't know the question, to see how they answer the question, so can prepare for it. So, as much as has been said by some members of the public who they think these would be the most ideal questions to ask somebody, you're just putting the cart before the horse. The idea, if you have the ideal question you want to ask a candidate, then talk to a city councilor and see if someone who has a question available to them. But I would just urge on the caution of not saying too much tonight, because even with the nature of some of the questions, because there's still one candidate, and there's still a lot of, as this is the first time we've ever had to do this, it's a little different, and that's why we're trying to go through the proper legal channels to make sure what information we can relay back in such a manner, because as soon as it becomes public, then it's like, I could relay it could be relayed to the whole body, but then theoretically, then someone could ask for a records request and find out what the questions were. Not that, eventually it'll all come out, but prior to finishing the process, I think we need to just be careful of saying too much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Sargent, please.
Thank you. I agree with Councilor McCarthy to err on the side of caution on this. So we have just a question as far as it looks like we have one person left to interview, and that's what's keeping us from our original date and going to move us back to the 28th. I'll yield for now. Thank you.
Good question. Councilor Gerard?
Thank you. So we wouldn't have had, even if we didn't have the one more person, if we had wrapped up all 6 interviews, we still wouldn't have been able to have enough time to conduct references. And so that's what we want to do before we as part of our decision for the final 3 that we're going to present to you. So we still wouldn't have had enough time just based on what the candidates' schedules were and everything. So, and what our schedules were. So this is doing it in the best way, most efficient way possible, in the most expeditious way while doing our due diligence.
Thank you. Councilor Dominguez?
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr.
follow up?
President. I would just yield. I just wanted to, add to all of the comments, but I think that we keep hearing the public saying that they need to have some question to be included. And I think we need to honor that. I think that public hearing after public hearing, I hear the same concern. They need some type of input on the question. So if we can accommodate the public input that we keep listening to have some of the questions from the public, general public, through the councilor, through the city councilor that we just mentioned, will be appropriated for the process to be equally fair to the whole city. I think that we keep listening every night that we have a public hearing. They wanted to say, they wanted to have something to ask to those candidates. So I think that's something that we need to consider. Without revealing anything, I think that we supposed to, or we have to at least allow the public to have some type of input on the process through the questions that they mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gerard, please.
Okay, let's just clarify this also, that prior to going into executive session for the interviews, I did open it up to the public, and the public could offer questions anytime that the public attended. I think the public was at all of the meetings, I think, except for the first round of interviews. But we did open it up, and so that's been the process, that prior to going into executive session, we have open session, and I do allow members of the public to ask any questions, to add anything. And so it's been actually a really nice collaborative process that people have come, people have emailed us, and I know that when we were putting together the questions that we came up with questions as well. So there has been a lot. I want to be clear that there has been a lot of public input into this, and it definitely has made this a more robust and thorough process, and I appreciate everyone's input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Sargent, do you have any further?
Oh, no, I'm all set. Thank you.
All set?
Thank you.
Councilor? Milo?
Oh, you said something.
Either one. Councilor Milo?
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things. I want to thank the committee because it certainly sounds like they've been very busy. The Ward 1 OLA committee is very busy also, and if it's at all possible that the recommendations can get to the committee sooner rather than later, I think that would be helpful, because it sounds like there's going to be a lot on that committee's plate, on OLA's plate. One question I have is, well, actually a couple questions. The special meeting for this, is that going to be televised?
Yes. Yep,
Thank you.
Do you want me to
Councilor
answer,
Gerard?
or do you want to ask another question and then I can answer?
And then my second question is, will the finalists be notified that they're going to have to go through this process?
Okay.
Councilor Gerard?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think I can say this, that we, in explaining the process to the candidates, that we've said, if you're selected, that there will be 3 of you this will be a full city council meeting. It will be on TV. There will be members of the public here. You will be brought before us to answer questions from other members of the public. So they've been made aware that if they're chosen as the final 3, that they will be.
Other members of the council.
I'm sorry.
Other members of the council.
Other members of the council. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Councilor Chorio, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll also just clarify the reason why the 3 names are to be submitted to OLA. We checked this with the city solicitor, because this ad hoc committee was assembled by an act of OLA. So essentially, those 3 names just get passed through the committee and right back out to the city council. It's just, it should be handled as just formality. The ad hoc committee has recommended these 3 people be submitted to the full city council. you guys would, on that committee, would receive it and just pass it on in the report, and then we'd set the full meeting.
Councilor Madore, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, to clarify, in that case, would the finalists' names be made public at the OLA committee, and that's okay with the, just making sure that's okay with the candidates?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And not to keep this going all night, but the final thing is just I had a friend of mine who just went through a similar process for a different position in another town. I mean, we can work out the particulars, but the 3 finalists will be brought in at separate times. And they will be asked the identical same number of questions, and the same question will be asked by the same person to each candidate. Because in an order of fairness, it can't be, as we've conducted our interviews for these 6 candidates, all the questions were prepared in advance and they're scripted. So we all know what we all as members, we ask the same questions. I'm asking questions I didn't submit. Fair enough, but it's everyone asks the same question. So when these candidates are brought in, because I knew this individual was going through this process for this position in another community, and out of curiosity, I called him to ask him how it proceeded. He was assigned a time to show up. And the first person hypothetically went from 6 to 7, the second person went from 7 to 8, the third person went from 8 to 9, and then none of them didn't even have to stick around. He actually got the phone call on the way home. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but that's just the way it is. But that's how it worked. So we just want to be clear as to, the final determination of the exact process is still up in the air. We have a good idea what it's going to be, but we'll figure it out, and I think that will come through the final vote in committee is what's going on here tonight, to make sure that once we have those names, we'll, flip a coin, draw names to who will go first, second, third, and figure out what the allotted time was for each candidate. Because in all fairness, the issue is, and I have some issues, but we can talk about that later. But it's in order to make the whole process fair. Because we're trying to make it as fair as we can now when we bring them in. We don't divulge the questions prior, so it's fair because the last person that we brought, happened to have a conflict up, and so that's the way it works out sometimes. So I just would caution everyone that, once again, I probably said too much as well, but it's going to be an open process, but we have to figure out the way to make it fair for everyone. So, and that's what we're trying to do. And that's what all this order is about.
Having served on the school committee for 12 years, they're used to picking, so on the school committee, superintendents, principals, and so on, through selection committees. This is all brand new to us, so it's a whole new language, a whole new ball field. So it's very important that we do it right, and transparent, and democratic. Thank you, Councilor McCarthy. Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's good to see you up there for such a long time tonight. Clearly, they're making good progress on this, but it seems to be dragging out even longer than anticipated. I spoke to the Ward 6 Council, the council president, some 3 weeks ago, asked for a replacement because the good Ward 5 councilor had stepped down from the committee that I chair, Community and Economic Development. So I'm missing a member, and we have a couple of matters. The good at-large council submitted an order several weeks ago, and I've been holding off trying to get a replacement member for that committee that I chair. So I'm shorthanded. It doesn't look like it's going to resolve itself anytime soon. I've gone ahead and scheduled another meeting for that committee, and I really would like to have a full quadrant of membership, the 5 members for that committee. I spoke to the council president 3 weeks ago, and we had suggested Councilor Peterson or Councilor Flynn that we had talked, and that we spoke again 2 weeks ago on this during and then after the council meeting, and Councilor Flynn stepped forward and volunteered. We still don't have a replacement for the good Ward 5 councilor who stepped down from Committee on Community and Economic Development. I'd like to get a replacement for the Ward 5 councilor who's serving on the ad hoc committee. I'd like to have it done immediately. We have a meeting scheduled for a week and a half from now. And I'd like to have the 5 members if possible in case, I just don't have, like you talked about earlier, the good Ward 1 councilor talked about earlier, about meeting a quorum, get replacements on and on. I'd like to have a committee, a full committee. And I respectfully ask the president, the Ward 6 councilor, for a replacement here tonight so that I can bring that replacement councilor up to speed with our committee issues and get them the documentation that they'll need to be brought up to speed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any further discussion?
No,
she'll get back to you. I think she'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Are we done?
Madam, you want to? Or Councilor Gerard?
I don't know, we haven't taken the vote yet.
Excuse me?
We still have to take the vote on...
Okay, I apologize. Thank you very much.
Adoption.
I appreciate that. I knew that.
I know.
I'm just testing you.
I know, and I think...
Any further questions on the motion by Councilor Gerard on the scheduling? Councilor Milo?
I'm not going to belabor this, but just to try to put a final date on this, so no later than June 28th, we're going to end up taking a vote. This will all be settled by June 28th. Yes. Correct? Is
We
that
hope.
what I understand
Yes,
based
we
on
hope.
this order?
As long as the creek don't rise.
Thank you.
All right.
On the motion by Councilor Gerard, all those in favor? All those opposed? None opposed? Unanimous. Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Committee reports. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem City Council, May 24, 2018. The Committee on Ordinance, License, and Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of granting certain licenses, considers the matter, recommend approval. The Salem High School Spring Track, Salem Fire Department, Salem High School Boys Basketball.
Hang on. Councilor Flynn, can you be here for this?
It doesn't, it's done.
It's done?
Yep.
Okay. And what was the report, to approve them?
Yep.
Okay, so on acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
No discussion.
Seeing no discussion on recommendation to approve the licenses, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem City Council, May 24, 2019. The Committee on Ordinance, License, and Legal Affairs, co-posted Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance relative to a tree commission warden and public tree preservation, has considered this matter and recommend that the matter remain in committee and have the city solicitor report back.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
Briefly, Madam President, the committee met with the members of the Lorax Committee. I want to publicly thank the Lorax Committee for all their work that they did to get this proposed ordinance in front of us. Now it's our task to deal with the proposed ordinance as submitted. There was a series of questions relative to the legality of a bunch of issues that is now with the city solicitor. Rather than get into the whole discussion on what transpired, some legal questions to be answered that she's going to report back, and then we'll have another meeting relative to the ordinance.
Okay. On any further discussion? Seeing none, on adoption of the recommendation, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor McCarthy. And let the record reflect that Councilor Milo is recusing herself.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem City Council, May 24, 2018. The Committee on Ordinance, License, and Legal Affairs, co-posted Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of discussing a proposed order approving Massachusetts Conflict of Interest Law exemption for Mayor Kimberly Driscoll as provided in the General Law 268A, Section 20B, to serve in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Developers appointee as set forth by General Law 121B, Section 5, to the Salem Housing Authority, has considered said matter and would recommend that the matter was heard, but no recommendation came out, so the matter restays in committee.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
I'm a little dismayed, Madam President. The OLA committee has so many things in front of it, and its inability to act on this tonight speaks volumes of what happened in this committee last year and what's been going on with certain issues this year. It's a simple. As a council, you have to learn to stay in your lane. And the lane on this one is whether or not there's an exemption. Later on in this agenda, there's an exemption for an employee of the City of Salem's school department in order to run a clinic for some sporting event, because just because he happens to be the coach at the high school and he's going to work for the park and rec. We're going to pass this exact same order for him in order to do that, which I have no problem with. I mean, who is better to teach lacrosse or soccer, whatever it is that's in front of us later on this agenda? Who's better than the mayor to sit on this board? We had testimony from members of the public tonight saying that how they live. I'm not even getting into it, but how they need assistance. This because of the committee's inaction, this seat on this particular board has been left unfilled for over a year. I don't know what to say. I mean, I don't know where the discussion is that by having a committee control this, it doesn't bring it to the full floor for a vote. I don't understand what the apprehension is. The order is simply to recognize the fact that the mayor is the mayor and she's been appointed to another board, which in turn receives compensation. That's what's in front of us. The other issue isn't in front of us. That's for some other body to decide. So I'm at a loss. Certain members can explain themselves to whoever they want to in the public as to why this still remains. I get it. They're entitled to their opinion. I'm not going to sit here, but I just question why this particular matter has languished in committee without being brought out with no recommendation to the full council for discussion and a vote. Right now, we're back to square one. I don't know what the mayor's going to do. As was suggested, it should be up to the governor. The governor made his decision. The governor thinks it would be an interesting way to move this body forward and address some of the issues ongoing. And I'm at a loss as to why we're unable to bring this to a vote to the full council floor. But that's just the way it is. That's the way government works. So I'm going to sit down. The matter remains in committee.
Councilor Fury.
I strongly concur. We're not given the opportunity. The rest of us on this committee, on this city council, is not given the opportunity to have it. That 2-2 vote, those people that could have voted could still stay with their convictions and vote against the nomination and allow us, the rest of the body. Now, for 2 years, an election since, 2 members of that Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs are no longer here from last term. A clear message from the voters. Make a decision. Get things out of committee. Run smoothly. That message was not listened to by certain members. And I'm very disappointed. We were never given the opportunity. 2 years in a row. Up or down. Let's be fair. That's justice and equity. The mayor is trying for it. You don't want the mayor? Vote it down. Vote up and down. I haven't been given the chance to by certain members of this Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. It's very disappointing. It sends a poor message of transparency, democracy, and action. I'm very disappointed.
Councilor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I think that I have to speak out about this subject. I mean, the fact that I excuse myself for not seconding a order that was in front of me regarding to take it out of order. I got my own opinion, and I think that the general public shares some of the value that I wanted to express. I see this issue that's coming in front of us, like everybody mentioned, 2 years, 1 year, whatever it is. We need to understand that we have to we have to make sure that we represent people from the general community. According to my knowledge, most of the people that approach me, they are not in favor. I think there is a conflict of interest, and I think that we need to make sure that we really represent the people that we are representing in this body. So make clear to me that I don't have no decision because I can decide it for my own. So I don't know if some of the comments are referred to me, but I have no decision to make. I don't feel comfortable seconding something that I'm not sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Madore.
Thank you, Madam President. I also feel that I concur with the good at-large counselor that this full council, if they have an issue with the conflict of interest waiver, they should be able to allow us to state that position and take a vote on council floor. But having it be tied up in OLA for more than a year, we're not afforded that right that we have to do, that we have. And I understand that there's opposition, and I have received communication from my own constituents as well, but I have also spoken and met and visited tenants of our public housing authority properties and understand that their concerns are not just, some of them, when they heard about this appointment by the governor, they immediately said, no, that's a conflict of interest. But they understand that they need a full board to represent their interests, and perhaps we shouldn't be putting the SHA on trial tonight, but they do feel strongly that the board currently in this composition does not represent their interests. And there are different dynamics between the board and the SHA's executive director. And some of the tenants are very passionate about their needs in their properties. And these are very vulnerable people. They're disabled, they live in poverty, they're seniors, and they need an additional voice for them on the board. And if it's not the mayor, then we should be allowed to vote that down. You should express that on full council floor rather than having it tied up to even more years down the road. And I don't think we have, as a body, we don't have the ability to influence the governor's decision on this appointment, but we have the power to say whether we agree with this conflict of interest waiver or not. We are not appointing the mayor, we are simply approving this routine waiver, and I think we should be allowed to do that. And the tenants current and former tenants that came before OLA to speak tonight, one of them she is disabled, and she overcame her disability to come here tonight. And in addition to that, she was brave enough to speak about her living conditions when, for a fact, we know that she's been intimidated by staff at the Housing Authority for not speaking up, and in fear of retaliation, a lot of the tenants do not speak up. So I commend her for that. And we need to think about our constituents. We need to understand the public's opinion about this appointment, but we also need to hear from the tenants that have to live in these properties every single day and their needs. And there are general basic human needs are not being met at some of the properties. The doors are not locked in some of these properties, and they're in my backyard. I see them through my window every day. The back doors are not locked. There's people going into these properties and squatting in their stairwells. There's lots of maintenance issues, and I understand that there's some kind of inequity in these properties' maintenance, and I don't know how we can address it, because we as a city, we don't oversee the housing authority. It's up to the state. We have no voice at the table. And if the mayor can give us that voice, that's great. But if it's not her, we need to identify somebody else who can take leadership on some of these issues. In addition to going after some of the funding that's currently on the table that's not being taken advantage of. The SHA has never applied for CPA funding, and we have a housing reserve for the CPA that's never fulfilled to the full 30%. And you wonder why. And I think it's time that we move it out, or have this body maybe vote to take it out of committee. I don't think there's support for that tonight, but I'm really hoping that some progress will be made on this particular matter, because the tenants can't wait. They live this every single day. And we heard from the tenants themselves that they want to see some movement on this appointment. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further? Councilor Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be quick. I want to reiterate a little bit the good word to councilors' comments, but also just to say that I'm not a member of OLA, but I was here for that meeting, and this in particular is something that I've wrestled with for months, because I've been hearing from tenants in the Salem Housing Authority who have been reaching out to me and are very concerned, in both directions. And so this was something that I've done a lot of hard work on to come to a decision myself. But I know that first and foremost is that the tenants need our help. They need a decision on this, and they need full representation on the Housing Authority. And I hope that that we can get to a point where we can do that for them. This is disappointing to me, the way that it went tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Dominguez.
I just want to bring for the point of clarification that I don't think that nobody is against any particular situation that we see in housing. Me, myself, I'm coming from the housing. My people I represent coming from that environment. I'm in full agreement to do something about affordable housing. I think the issue right here that is coming from us, there is any conflict by naming anyone into that position, and there is more people can do the job. Absolutely, and you hear from people in favor, you hear from people against. I'm not really against any particular person to be in there. What I'm looking for is a solution that we can move forward and bring exactly what we are needing in the area of housing. So we are not against any, I just want to repeat myself, and I know I repeat myself too many times, and I want to just clarify that I'm not against housing. I am pro-housing, affordable housing, and I think that we need to move forward and we need to do something about housing. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Fury.
Grass is always greener, Madam President. Someone can always take that position.
Yeah.
But today, 2018, May, a $1+ billion bond by the state for housing. They're going to come out of the woodwork within minutes and days to go after that money. Guess what? We have no one on that level to know. The Secretary of Housing, Mr. Ash, better than our own mayor, who served with him in Chelsea, and turned Chelsea around. No one in Salem knows him better. If you went to the partnership meeting at Salem Hotel Hawthorne, I think you were there, when Secretary Ash said to our mayor, "You're the greatest. Anytime you want a job." Because he knows he's got the best in Salem. And she is the right person, at the right time, to get that housing that you're pro for. But we haven't had a chance to get it out. 2-2. That's an injustice to all of us. If you could have voted sincerely to put it out to committee and still say no, and your constituents, you say, told me that I don't want to vote for it, fine, that's up to you. But the rest of us vote. You denied me the right to vote. My constituents are saying, yes, get them involved. We need someone involved. It's empty. You heard these people. I'm looking for that. Like Boston Globe, a $1 billion plus state housing bond. We're not going to get some of that months from now. Gone. Gone. Because of our lack of decisions. I'm disappointed.
Councilor Dominguez, then Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. With all due respect, I understand what Councilor Alarja had comments, and I respect your comment. Very clear. But I have to express myself on this issue completely. The fact that the mayor had done a good job is no question. I mean, a tremendous job. I think that she should be concentrated on that area 100%. We just came from closing the only school that the Latino community had, closing by the mayor and the school committee. So what are we looking for? We're looking for the same action, the same result. So it's questionable. I'm not saying that she's not capable to do the job. I'm saying that we need solution. The solution is not only on one side. I understand that she's been the champion on getting funds from the state. Completely agree with you. But I'm not disrespectfully saying that she's not capable to do it. I'm just saying that in this particular situation, we need to look for other options. The same way we are looking for another option when we want to hire a new city clerk, when we want to hire a chief of police or whatever other position. I think that we need to open the process to make sure that whoever qualified to do the job, come and bring the solution to the table. Thank you.
Councilor Dibble, then Councilor Madore, then Councilor Turriel.
Thank you, Madam President. I wasn't going to rise and speak about this tonight. I'm not on the committee. I was on the committee in the past. I did ask the mayor some year and a half ago to withdraw her request to the governor and step down and have the governor appoint one of the other 42,000 people in Salem to this, because I felt it was a conflict of interest. I still feel as though it's a conflict of interest, The mayor appoints the other 4 members to the Housing Authority. Yes, it is true. She confirmed it with me. The 2 of them, she takes from a recommendation from the residents and from, I think it's a union. Doesn't matter. She takes a recommendation too. She picks 2 others. She appoints all of the other 4 members. She would be the 5th member. And basically have 100% control of this board. And we heard a lot of testimony tonight from residents and former resident of different housing authority properties. If the Ward 2 counselor feels strong enough that and she said that the board is not representing the residents, well, we need to take this matter to those board members or to the mayor who appoints those 4 members and have them represent the residents as they're supposed to be doing. If this really is a problem, the mayor needs to step in because she appoints those 4 people. Perhaps not to reappoint people who supposedly are not representing the residents of the housing authority properties that they're supposed to be representing. I have to agree with the at-large counselor to my right in his comments. The issue clearly, in my mind, is a conflict of interest. And should it come before the board, and again, I'm not a member of the committee, I would have to vote against it, as I told the mayor a year and a half ago that I would be voting against it when she was asking for my vote and my support. She had my friend and former boss, Bill Luster, who I ran against 2.5 years ago, was doing an excellent job. I went to a couple of housing authority meetings. I saw him in action, and he was defending those residents in a good way. He was doing his job. I asked him if he could, I thought that he was still, until tonight, earlier tonight when I spoke to him, I thought that he was still serving until replacement on the board. So I thought he was still active, but he's not. So there is a vacant seat. So I think it's time for the mayor to appoint somebody else to the board and let the mayor focus on the job of being mayor. She's chairperson of the school committee. Our schools need some guidance, some assistance. Spend more time on doing the job of being mayor and the president of the school committee. And in the email that we all got from the mayor today, the other 4 or 5 or 6 things that she's also chairing and heavily involved in, beyond things that I didn't even know about. So if this matter does come before the board, as I said to the mayor a year and a half ago, and I've known the mayor, we've been dear friends for 30-something years, longer than 30 years, I will have to vote against her on this because I clearly think it's a conflict of interest. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilmember Dore.
Thank you, Madam President. And it's very, I do think it's very clear the matter that we should get to vote on is the conflict of interest. But that matter, you know, according to my colleague at-large counselor to my right, if he wants to vote on the matter, then we should bring it to the council floor to vote on. If he has a position on it, he can state that on the council floor. And then just tonight, I made a motion to vote it off committee with no recommendation. I changed my motion from a positive recommendation to no recommendation, and still did not get a second to that motion. And I wanted to understand why that motion was not seconded, even without recommendation, to allow the councilors to state their positions on council floor. So I was disappointed that even without a recommendation, that it was not voted out of committee. And to the good Ward 7 councilor, excuse me, I agree. There may be some concerns about the board representation and some issues that we could review and look into. And I've had this discussion with the mayor that perhaps we need to revisit some of these appointments when they expire and see if we can make this board more proactive and take more initiative on going after state grants and resources. But right now, these members are serving, and we can't have that conversation until some of these terms expire or they decide to resign. But the truth of the matter of fact is that this board has not been fully occupied, and there is one vacant position that we need to fill. Actually, I correct that. It's not for us to fill. It's for the governor to fill. And If we don't think if we don't think the mayor is the right person for this position, we should be allowed to vote that down for this board to move forward with an appointment. But it's being held up in committee. And it's as simple as an up and down vote for this to move forward. I am all in favor of moving forward, and I would like to move forward with this. But until it comes to full council floor, we cannot move forward. And that's the fact in front of us.
Thank you.
Councilor Terrell and then Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be very fast because the Ward 2 councilor said about 90% of what I was going to say. So we have an option, we have a matter in committee. We can take it out with, we can move to keep it in committee. We can move it out with a positive recommendation. We can move it out with a negative recommendation, or we can move it out with no recommendation and then let the council make the final decision. I think the job of committees should be to make that a decision one way or another and then pass it through. And if we can't agree because we have a tie or because of recusals or whatever reason, we should ultimately let the city council make that decision on the floor. I support that in this manner. And in the case of this particular seat, we have 2 seats that are we have all 4 seats appointed by the mayor, 2 of which are pre-selected for her, and then she passes those through. The other 2 she makes herself. We also have 1 vacant seat that is appointed by the governor. So it's not our seat to fill, it's not our choice. Were it not for the conflict of interest because she's already a municipal employee, we wouldn't even see this. We don't have any say in who that person is. We don't recommend names, we don't do anything. In this case, the governor has, since Bill Luster's term ended last year, when his term ended, the governor put forward the mayor as his recommended choice for this position, and for the reasons that presumably many of us have talked about on the floor, there are issues with the Salem Housing Authority, there are problems there are 10 issues, and having the Salem Housing Authority properties in my ward, I know we have ongoing issues with the interaction between the authority and the city. We have parking lots that are constantly fought over for maintenance. We have sidewalk problems around them where responsibility is ducked. We just had a big asbestos problem where improper work was done by the contract that Salem Housing Authority put in place over at Pioneer Terrace, right down the street from me. And we've had a whole lot of that kind of stuff going on. And personally, my belief is that at this time, the mayor is the right person to get in and make the Salem Housing Authority work more closely with the city and make things happen in a better fashion and benefit the residents. But I don't know how many votes are on the floor for that. I don't know how many people want that to happen. All I know is that we should get this through the committee with some kind of action, whether it's no recommendation, an up recommendation, or a down recommendation. We should get it out of the committee where it's been. Clearly, the governor doesn't have any particular interest in putting a different person in there. So if we want to, continue battling Beacon Hill on it, I guess, if that winds up being the will of the committee to keep on battling Beacon Hill, we're just going to wind up with an empty seat.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. Can we just, obviously the committee took no action on the matter tonight. So the matter's still in committee. So we can debate it all night, but it's still the matter's in committee. We can't do anything. And I respect everyone's opinions, but I would ask that we just move on because the matter's in committee. But as we move to the next matter, just ask yourself the question: what is in front of us? Our job is not the conflict that Councilor Sargent raised during committee that he asked the city solicitor. That's for another body to determine whether or not there's a conflict of interest. That is not in front of the city council. The city council, what's in front of the city council is what we're going to exactly take up in 3 minutes relative to an employee of the school department being able to work a summer camp. That's the same conflict that's in front of us relative to the mayor. So everything's been said about this tonight. The matter's still in committee. I ask that we move on.
Thank you. Councilor Sargent?
Thank you, Madam President. We do have the matter before us of a lacrosse coach when school's out in the summertime, working a summer job. Maybe a conflict, but, you know, not conflicting during the time of year. School's out during the summertime. I think that's small potatoes compared to a mayor and an elected official being on a board. And anybody who doesn't think that the mayor doesn't have the power to deal with the housing authority without being a member of the board has not been paying attention for the last, 12 years. We all know how strong-willed the mayor is, how powerful she is, how good she is at dealing with issues. She has all the power of herself and her staff to write grants for the CPA, to get money for the housing authority, to have a lot of control over that without being on the board. And at the same time, Salem is full of volunteers who'd like to be on boards. We could get somebody else on the board also. So I just can't believe that the mayor can't deal with the housing authority without being on the housing authority board. And, you know, as far as my whole time on the city council, I'm not in the habit of seconding something that I don't agree with. I just don't agree this is the right thing to do. It has to fit right in your conscience. You have to believe it's the right thing to do. That's how the committee system works. You know, it's our democratic process, it's our charter, it's not perfect, but it works right for us most of the time. And when it doesn't work for you, it's not our job to shame the councilors who won't do something that their conscience doesn't want them to do. I really don't think that's in our purview, with all due respect. There's been things in committee, zoning changed before that wasn't coming out of committee, and the council got 8 votes, just as the charter allows. Rather than try and change somebody's, or get them to do something that their conscience won't allow them to do, try and get the votes you need to do what you want to accomplish. And if it doesn't work, you've done the best you can. So, and there's also, in our charter, this matter shouldn't even actually be before us, because our charter says clearly that a matter that remains in committee at the end of the year shall not be brought before the city council for the next subsequent calendar year. This was in committee last year and it didn't make it out. And this is the next calendar year. It shouldn't be before us till come January 1st. But it's in there and we're discussing it and we're dealing with it the best we can. So I feel strongly about the housing authority. I lived in Rainbow Terrace as a child growing up. I know, I have friends and relatives who live in housing authority property. Of course we all want the right thing to happen. But I don't think this one appointment is not allowing that board to do its job. Just as if one of us isn't here, we're still able to do our duty. So I think we're over-exaggerating that part of it. So, and even as councilors, we have to be out of office for a year before we can serve on a board. I love zoning. I study zoning all the time, but I would never ask to be appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals, even though I feel like I could do a good job there. It's too much to be an elected official and do that, and it's taking the position away from some other volunteer who wants to do that job. So those are my feelings on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion? Okay, so on adoption of the recommendation that this is remaining in committee, is that correct?
There's no
It's been
recommendation.
an hour. I don't remember.
It simply remains in committee.
It's simply, okay, so it's just remaining in committee, so nothing. So, but we still have to vote on that, right?
No.
No?
No vote?
Okay. That was a nice talk.
Can we do that
Glad we
again
talked it
sometime?
out. Okay, so
If
we can.
Councilor Milo is still awake.
Okay, so Councilor Milo can return if she's still awake. Okay, so, and then, yeah, and then let the record reflect that Councilor Flynn is recusing himself for further committee reports. Councilor Turiel.
Thank you. This will be deja vu. City of Salem City Council, May 24, 2018. The Committee on Administration and Finance co-posted the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of a $20,000 appropriation of free cash to the mayor's contract services to conduct an assessment center to hire the new fire chief, has considered said matter and would also have no recommendation because we were deadlocked. I'm getting the look.
Waive the reading.
Yeah. Oh, we have to do acceptance of the committee report. We do have to do that, unfortunately.
Okay, I find this really concerning that my two committees that I set up, that neither of them can make decisions. This is very concerning.
This is caused also partly by recusal, so
Okay.
we'll get into it.
Okay, so on acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries.
There's no recommendation, of course, again, but, so this was also deadlocked at 2-2. However, in this particular case, this situation will have a resolution within the next week. The posting for fire chief expires on Tuesday. At this point, 4 candidates internally have posted, no candidates externally have posted. Some of the discussion, there was opposition to having an open search. That frankly is the mayor's prerogative in civil service to run an open search. So if she wants an open search, she gets one, period. The question is that's her prerogative as the chief officer, and we have also already, the Civil Service Commission has delegated to us the ability to conduct an assessment center and handle the matter in that fashion. However, this request was made to us, was submitted to us 2 weeks ago, not knowing how many candidates would show up, how many internal, how many external. It looks very much like it will be a no external candidate posting for it, which I don't find that surprising, frankly, but it is still within the precedent that we set during the police search. We're still, searching anywhere for leadership. And seeing, with the expectation that we're not likely to find it outside, but asking outside because it seems to be the right way to conduct business. So that all said, once we see what the candidates turn out to be, this appropriation may become utterly moot because we will only have X amount of candidates and they can just scrounge up the cash out of other accounts to do it, to run the assessment center. It could be they come to us for a different appropriation. If it turns out to be all internal candidates, then we'll need some money to do assessment centers for a new deputy chief. Because if a deputy chief moves up, then we'll have an opening in the deputy chief ranks. So assessment centers are a critical part of this hiring process, but the amount here may or may not turn out to be what we wind up needing. So depending on what happens after Tuesday, we may just extinguish this in committee, or we may change the amount, or it may be resubmitted, or we may have to discuss it again at that point. So until then, we don't have anything definitive right now.
Councilor Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick side note that I caught when the representative from the fire department got up to speak, that he said that they had learned that there was a changed address for mailing information in, or in interest for the position. So that was part of the reason that I want to wait and see what comes in, because if that's true, then we may have more than the internal candidates. I don't know, but I just want to make sure that we have the full understanding of who's interested.
Wait, so a change of address?
A change of, I don't know if it's an email address or a mailing address.
The assessment center was a different address, but not the internal posting address.
Okay.
The internal, all the human resources information for posting has not changed. So that's still been posted in the regular fashion. This had to do with the assessment center, and he thought that might have caused a bit of a delay in the people internally who posted being recognized. Might have caused an internal delay.
It's all set.
Yeah, it's all set.
Okay. Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. Being a member of the committee who met tonight, there were some 25 to 35 Salem firemen here tonight in support of the 4 Salem firefighter officers who were going after the chief's position. They felt, from a morale standpoint, the training had been done for years. I had spoken to several of them over the last week and a half or so. Probably about 1/4 of them are friends of mine. It was good to see so many of them here today. I didn't know they were coming. But I was against spending this $20,000. That's half a teacher's salary. We did this for the police department, worldwide search, boom, 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 testing center, assessment center, spent a bunch of money, and then lo and behold, we hired somebody, Chief Butler, Mary Butler, who had been there for 3+ decades, in training for 3+ decades, and we hired him. The same thing with the fire department. These 4 officers within the Salem Fire Department started off 2 and 3 plus decades ago and have been trained for 3 decades. To hire somebody from the outside through this assessment center who doesn't know Salem, doesn't know the city, doesn't know the employees, doesn't know some of the problem areas that we might have in terms of firefighting, these other 4 and the entire department would have to train that new person for months and maybe a whole year and try to bring them up to speed. Well, in my mind's eye, on a department like this and the police department, and perhaps another department or 2, I'm not sure, when you have somebody and you've been training them for a whole bunch of years to do the job, let them take over and do the job, assuming that they meet the review committee and they're qualified. Why look to hire from somebody outside when we've been investing and training these people for 3 decades to do this job? It's their turn to lead. I say we let them lead. Let's save $20,000 and half a teacher's salary and support our firemen's ranks all the way down to the brand new guys who just came into the fire department that maybe they would like to be chief someday in 20 years or 25 years or whatever it be. Let them work hard and get certifications. Our 4 firemen who are applying for this job are extremely qualified. The good at-large sergeant has talked to several of them, and he knows some of the qualifications. These are world-class people that we have here already in-house. Why spend $20,000 and throw away this money when most likely at the end of the day we're going to hire one of them? I say save that half a teacher's job and hire the best candidate out of the 4 that we have here in-house and not look for somebody from out of town who really doesn't know Salem, and these 4 officers would have to train that person. It makes no sense. Save the money, hire from the ranks, and support our fire department.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I I almost agree with that. The point being, we have multiple internal candidates. All the deputy chiefs are posting for it. I don't believe any of the captains are posted for it. I think it's just the deputy chiefs, but I'm not sure of that. I know a number of firefighters also, and I've talked about it with a few of them, but that's the situation we're in right now. Is there's going to be at least 4 people to pick from. There could be a couple of external candidates. I really doubt they have a serious shot at it, but still, when you're doing these kind of matters, when you're hiring somebody who's going to be running the department, it's always best to, at the very least, compare what you have inside to what's available outside. We did that with the police chief, true, where we had only one person internally post for chief, and that person wound up getting it because they were clearly the best candidate. In this case, we have 4 people, and it's all but certain that one of them is going to be the best candidate too. But even if it's just the 4 of them, you still have to run an assessment center to figure out who the best one is. Mm-hmm. You don't just pick it with eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Right.
You don't just go, whoever has grown the best handlebar. I mean, that would be clearly the deputy chief junta, who was the best handlebar mustache on the planet. But you don't just go by simple criteria. You use objective criteria when you're rating these people. And I know them all. They're all qualified, but one of them is going to be the best one. And running them through an assessment center one way or another is how you find out who the best one is. You don't just have them take a test like the old days of civil service was. You actually do stuff to find out. You subject them to tests and demands of the job, and you make them act like they are the chief and see who the best chief will be. And I'm confident no matter who applies, it's going to be one of our guys. And if, like I suspect, come Tuesday night, it's only our 4 guys, we're going to still have to run assessment of some sort with some money to find out who the best one of those guys is. So one way or another, this will be done the right way, whether it's just with our guys or with just our guys or with our guys and a couple of others in there. Ultimately, we're going to have a new chief. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a new chief from Salem, and they're going to be tested the right way. So I say we don't have a vote on this one either, so I say we just move on because we have a total of 1 more item, and let's go home.
Councilor
Just a
Fury.
personal perspective, if I may, Madam President. I've taught 40 years in education. I've served in 3 different school systems, 3 different cities. superintendents, principals, turnover, screening committees and everything. The impact on the human face is immense when you have an outsider coming in, shake out the place, and they leave, and their credentials look good, and they fly off friendly skies to another place. These are kids. I've seen it in my own 5 kids. I've seen it in 40 years teaching. Now we're talking about public safety. Public safety. We just talked about retired police officers coming back who know better and get a little bit extra change after retirement and work in the streets and overtime. This is public safety, the fire chief. What more better person to have qualified? An incentive for people to move up the ladder to become the Norman Rockwell principals and superintendents we've had. I think Chief St. Pierre, Chief Tucker, Chief Butler, Norman Rockwell police chiefs, Chief Cody, Brennan, all Salem roots. What incentive is there for Salem people? I look at it as a child from my 5 children's eyes. Some of their school years were destroyed by all the infighting of new principals coming in. Look at Salem High School, a whole new principal. Salem High School, Mr. Andrew Armour, 25 years in the school system. He's going to St. Mary's. His reasons: middle school, new principals, Bowler School, new principals, whole new staff 3 or 4 times over. This is kids. We're talking about public safety now. Safety, safety, safety. That's what the people expect us to have premier responsibility in, public safety. We don't want to have somebody from Los Angeles out from the friendly skies come in and shake the place up, destroy it, what we live in. And that's what will happen. They don't know the system. These 4 people that built themselves up with credibility and professionalism, no incentive. If we go outside to this we just added $30,000 in an appropriation for the city clerk's office. We're using Councilor Flynn's money for other supplies, right? Hello, and we're spending $20,000 on a search instrument? Something's wrong in the cookie factory. The buck stops here. We've got to send a message to the administration saying, in-house, get the best person, and there are people there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Sargent.
Just want to make a few quick points with your indulgence. Thank you. I mean, the men and women of our fire department and our police department have built a premier department, one that's looked up to around the whole North Shore. And one of them deserves to reap the rewards of running that department after having helped build it. And I mean, just my basic math on an assessment center is two different avenues. One, you judge them on knowledge of fire science. Their guy gets a 90, from out of town, our guy gets a 90. Now the second part is you judge them on knowledge, institutional knowledge of Salem. It's roads, buildings, fire escapes, roofs, what's weak, what's strong, basements that have traps all around the city, things you can't teach somebody that you learn over 30 years of work in the place. Their guy gets a 0, our guy gets a 90. Do the math, do the average. Our guy averages a 90, their person averages a 45. Clear winner because of the knowledge and the training. Now, if you liken the fire department to take 100 guys beginning a marathon, 26-mile marathon, they've all got about 20 to 25, 26 years in the department. Every mile along that marathon is another test, whether it be EMT course, lieutenant test, civil service, captain's test, deputy's test. All those things are equivalent to almost a bachelor's degree. All that knowledge of Salem. So now after those 100 guys beginning that race, 4 deputy chiefs are running down Boylston Street, neck and neck, right? They've all earned it. They've become the cream of the crop of those 100 people they started out with. All the knowledge they learned from the guys before them and a lot of the guys after them. And all of a sudden, halfway down Boylston Street, we're going to bring in a Rosie Ruiz from another city, another town, to reap the benefits of all that they've built up. I just don't see that happen. I don't think it's the right thing to do. We have the guys. We should hire somebody in-house. Thank you.
Councilor Milo. And then Councilor Terrio.
Madam President, I know the hour is late and I'll be very brief, but this is something that I'm very passionate about. I have to echo my 2 colleagues, my councilor at-large colleagues, who are advocating for an in-house, whether it be an in-house assessment center or just an in-house appointment, a closed search here. As I'm listening to the councilor at large to my right, the dean, I'm hearing voices from the former dean saying, go get them. I truly believe that this is something that we need to do. We need to promote from within. You know, these folks have been interviewing for this job, as we've said, for, you know, decades. So we need to support our own.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you. Hopefully this is the last thing on this so we can finally finish the meeting. But just to be very crystal clear, the mayor has already decided to hold an open search. An open search is being held right now. We, as a body, have no say in that. The appointment, when it is done, will come before us. But we don't get to decide whether it's an open search or a closed search. It's already been decided. It already is an open search. And it will be an open search. And that open search ends on Tuesday. So it's been open for nearly the required 21 days. So come Tuesday at the end of the day, we'll find out what we actually have. And my expectation is it's going to be just the 4 internal candidates. Maybe there will be somebody from outside who posts. Maybe they don't even make it to the point of being a serious candidate. But, you know, we can talk all night, and we've been doing it, about whether or not it's an open search or closed search. It's an open search, already is, done. We have no say in that. So I just clarify that. We can rail about it, but we can't change it. Ultimately, this process will go through one way or another. We'll find out on Tuesday what, if anything, is needed for an appropriation, and this matter will either come back before us or simply go away or be replaced by a different request. But, you know, that's a done deal. Who that person is and who gets it to the point of the assessment center that they'll find a way to do one way or another, we shall see. I hope and expect that it's our 4 guys, but we'll find out.
Thank you.
And with that, I move the question, which is move.
Okay, so thank you again for the great conversation. Since we have no recommendation, no nothing, so Councilor Flynn can return.
See if he's awake.
See if he's awake. Okay.
Everybody survived.
Communications from city officials.
We have a communication from City Solicitor Beth Renard regarding the following order to grant one school department employee, Seamus Mark, Inspector Lacrosse Clinic, an exemption from Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20B, 20 subsection B, so that he may be retained as the instructor of lacrosse clinic by the Park Rec and Community Service Department for the 2018 summer session, not to exceed $500 in the calendar year.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption.
Councilor Terrio, try that again. Councilor Terrio moves for adoption. Under discussion.
I don't think there's any really required. We do this routinely, and we had a lengthy discussion about this this waiver in the first place a few minutes ago, or a couple of hours ago at this point. So I just simply move the question. We've done this routinely every year for at least 1 or 2 people.
Thank you. Seeing no, Councilor Dibble.
Very briefly, thank you, Madam President. Just want to point out that Seamus does an excellent job up there. And this is a way to build our high school program, our high school athletics, by properly training our younger kids in the different sports. My oldest son played lacrosse at Salem High School, and he played lacrosse in college. And I look forward to not just Seamus doing this, but other experts coming back to Little League and other places the way that they do in other towns. I coached several sports for more than a decade here in Salem, and I think we missed some of those grassroots efforts of the high school coaches and high school players working with our younger kids to motivate them to do better. We saw it on the track team years ago, but we don't see it so much now. I think it's much needed, and I applaud Seamus for doing this, and I highly recommend that not only do we approve this, but other coaches wind up doing it if they're able to as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Terrio's motion for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed, Madam carries. Councilor Terrio.
Just a point of personal privilege to say happy birthday to my son, who turned 16 today and got his learner's permit, which is terrifying. But just want to say happy birthday. Sorry I was here all night.
Okay, I think we covered everything, correct? There's nothing that we missed. Kratz. Counselor Devil.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wondering if you will speak to the one member short in my my Committee on Community and Economic Development. We're having a meeting before our next City Council meeting, and I'm wondering if you're going to be gracious enough to give me the fifth member that I've been asking for several weeks now.
Counselor Terrell, Counselor Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to be reappointed as soon as the ad hoc committee completes its work in approximately a week, so you'll be stuck with me. Sorry.
Motion to adjourn?
Wait, Counselor Peterson. Thank you, Counselor Fury, but Counselor Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. I was just going to say real quickly, I know the meeting that is scheduled is for June 11th, just as a logistical point, that I believe that Counselor Flynn and I are both not available anyway for that night. We had already figured that out in the budget hearing process. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Counselor Fury.
Motion to adjourn?
Counselor Fury motions to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.